Hello everyone, can you hear us? कोई हाँ बोल दो please in the audience. Can you hear us? Can anyone confirm if you can hear us? Okay, thank you. Hi everyone, आज हम लोग हमारे साथ आज हमारे एक फ्रेंड है, उनका नाम द अपोस्टेट है एंड ही इज फ्रॉम बांग्लादेश. ही इज एन एक्स मुस्लिम एंड सो उनको इंग्लिश आती है, हिंदी समझ आती है, बट ही कांट से मतलब टॉक वेरी फ्लुएंटली इन हिंदी. So please be a little easy on him. So I'm gonna welcome Apostate. So hi Apostate, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you? Very nice
I'm
to be here.
nice to meet and then welcome. You're meeting quite some Indians today, and you have quite some of your friends also. Jinko you probably know them off screen as well.
Okay.
So today's topic is why we need God. So द अपोस्टेट हैज ऑलरेडी हैड एक उन्होंने पहले स्ट्रीम करी हुई है इसके ऊपर, एंड जब इन्होंने मुझे ये मौका दिया कि मैं उस स्ट्रीम को देखती, तो आई थॉट द आइडियाज वर अमेजिंग, वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग, एंड सो टुडे आई हैव इनवाइटेड हिम कि ये इतनी अच्छी जो इन्होंने बातें कही frankly from a human psychology point of view, the apostate what so I'll just finish this. तो उसके हिसाब से I thought it was a brilliant thing कि this kind of एक thought process, एक idea float करा जाए, क्योंकि especially हम लोग जब बात करते हैं dogma की, तो we always talk about things like this. So
Yes.
I'm going to invite apostate to start. So apostate generally ये होता है कि whoever talks is the person who talks and the other person mutes themselves,
Right.
ताकि हमारी
Okay.
background noise least रहे. So like when
Right,
you will
right,
talk, अब मैं I'll just mute myself so that you get the platform also, and then you can start talking also. So would you like to share your screen? Or
Yes,
would you
sure.
like me
Just
to open the file? So if you go down, you share your
open the
screen, then
file. Open the file.
I can put
Open the
both of
file.
us on the side.
Okay. Okay. Give me a minute.
So why don't
And
you
these.
first say hi to everybody? We'll start
Oh,
with that
hi.
and a little bit of an
Hi,
introduction.
everybody. Nice to meet you. I am from Bangladesh, and I used to be a Muslim. This year, I left religion. I left faith completely. Now I identify as an ex-Muslim atheist or an apostate. So, yeah, I mean, I came from a Sufi background. My dad was a Sufi. Sufism is like a sect within Islam. I come from a Sufi background. Okay, so in my opinion, wait, what was the question again? Could you repeat the question? This is my
Why?
first time. I'm very nervous.
It's all good. We're just gonna eat you up after this, so don't worry. While the stream is fine, it's perfect. We just eat up people after the stream is over. So you're pretty fine as long as we're talking.
Okay. Yeah.
So
Okay.
the topic was pretty much why do we need God, and then obviously कि इससे आगे कैसे चलता रहता है, and why people actually still need God, मतलब from a point of view of a human psychology. So that's how we would we will take the topic further and further. The apostate has beautiful points on that, and we can probably take it from there. Sounds good?
Yeah. Well, in my opinion, personally, I don't think we need God. Honestly, um, it's a type of coping mechanism for many people. The belief in a higher sort of creator deity, that has created the universe, that has created us, that looks after us, that looks after everything we're doing, that is keeping counts, and when we die, we will be judged based on what we do. So for most people, the way I see it is this is a sort of coping mechanism. Um, it's a sort of way to
Would you
deal
like me
with.
to? Would you like me to share and then you can go point by point? Does that sound good?
Yes, yes, yes. So for most people, from what I've understood, is it's a way of dealing with the it's a way of dealing with the existential problems, basically. Um, it's a way of dealing with the purposelessness of the universe. And many people have come up with many justifications for why God exists. And I'm of the opinion that none of these justifications are valid, none of these justifications are relevant, and none of these justifications, even if they sound plausible, they prove that a God exists. So here is a list of 10 points that one of my theist friends actually put up, um, to explain why he thinks that God exists. And mind you, the thing about God is that people tend to assert that God exists, but most people don't have any good evidence that God actually does exist. It's something they assert, they try to reason, but all of these are based on unfounded assumptions and they're just claims. So here is a list of 10 points. Um, so, like many people, for most people, number one is the biggest reason they believe why a creator deity exists. So, which is that there is no doubt existence exists, and they argue that existence is of two types: possible existences and necessary existences. Then they argue that every possible existence is dependent on a is dependent, and therefore it requires a necessary existence. So when they think of the universe, they are thinking of it as a possible existence. I'll explain what possible existence is. A possible existence is any form of existence that did not need to exist. There was no necessity of them existing anyhow. Right. So, but since they do exist, they depend on some sort of existence that has to necessarily exist for in order for that existence to be in this way. So most people argue that when you're looking at the universe, they're arguing that the universe is a possible existence. There are many probabilities, many possibilities on how the universe could have been. It could have been in this way, it could have been in that way, but but it's not, and it's in this particular way, which um, displays uh, traits of life. But and therefore they assert that hence there is a necessary existence required, and then they say that the necessary existence is God, which may sound plausible at first, but the problem is with such assertions is that firstly, um, we have no way of knowing whether the universe is a possible existence or a necessary existence, because at the very fundamental, at the very microscopic level, everything is just fundamental particles floating around, and everything is just an arrangement of these particles, and we don't know if these particles are possible, are contingent existences, or whether they are necessary. So unless and until we can figure that out, we cannot assume in any way that, or assert in any way, that the universe is contingent. Because if you're looking at these fundamental particles, and if they are necessary, if they have no prior cause behind them and they just exist necessarily, they just exist, then the universe is not a necessary existence. um, I hope that made sense. So there's no way of understanding with our limited scientific tools right now. There's no way of figuring out whether the universe is contingent or necessary. So
तो
unless
सो
Mhm.
बेसिकली इसका मतलब ये है कि दो तरह की अस्तित्व हैं जैसे उन्होंने लिखा है। तो क्या हमें हमारा होना जरूरी है या फिर ये हो या नहीं हो, ये कोई इतने, ये एक काइंड ऑफ एक फिलोसफिकल बात होती है। कंटिंजेंट का मतलब बेसिकली अगर हम कहेंगे कि इसका होने की पॉसिबिलिटी कितनी है, कि ये होना भी चाहिए, इसका जरूरी है भी या नहीं है। तो क्योंकि हमें, हमारा जरूरी नहीं है कि हमारा अस्तित्व होना कोई एक नेसेसरी बीइंग है, कि मतलब जरूरी है कि हम एग्जिस्ट करने ही चाहिए इसलिए एग्जिस्ट कर रहे हैं। क्योंकि अगर इसका मतलब है कि हमारे होने और नहीं होने का कोई कारण नहीं है, तो हम जब तक इस
Yes,
बात को हम लोग इस पर बिल्कुल विचार विमर्श करके हम इस बात को बिल्कुल हाँ या ना कर दें, तब तक आप भगवान के ऊपर भी हाँ ना नहीं कर सकते। ये
exactly.
मतलब इसका मतलब बेसिक बात है कि भगवान कोई वेला तो है नहीं कि वेली चीजें बस बन रही हैं, अपने आप।
Mm. Yeah,
अगर, लेकिन अगर हमारे होने का कोई अस्तित्व है, तो भगवान का अस्तित्व होगा। तो लेकिन क्योंकि हमारा यही अभी हमें यही नहीं पता कि क्या हमारा होना ही आवश्यक है या नहीं आवश्यक है, इसीलिए हम ये भी नहीं कह सकते कि भगवान का होना भी आवश्यक है या नहीं आवश्यक है। ठीक
it's
है।
more like, the universe. If you're looking at the universe as a collection of objects like planets, stars, etc., etc., you could argue that the universe as a whole is contingent, but like I mentioned, that the universe is made up of everything in existence, everything that we know of is made of fundamental particles. And we don't know whether these particles were brought into existence by a god or whether they always existed, which is why we can't say that
तो
for sure that the universe is contingent.
बेसिकली हर चीज फ्लोट कर रही है, प्लैनेट्स भी फ्लोट कर रहे हैं,
Mm.
स्पेस भी फ्लोट कर रही है, सन भी फ्लोट
Mhm.
कर रहा है, और उसके ऊपर हम सब भी फ्लोट ही कर रहे हैं एक तरीके से, बिकॉज
Yeah.
यू ऑल फ्लोटिंग पार्टिकल्स। इसीलिए भी वही बात है कि क्या इसको जरूर, मतलब इसको एक डिजाइन की तरह अगर फ्लोट कराया गया है कि वेले ही फ्लोट कर रहे हैं हम सब, सो दैट्स व्हाई दिस हैज टू बी क्लियर्ड पहले, कि क्या हमारे होने का कोई रीजन है कि नहीं है। और अगर नहीं है हमारे होने का कोई रीजन, तो फ्रैंकली वी कुड वेरी वेल जस्ट बी अ एक्सीडेंट, लाइक
Yeah,
matlab it doesn't
of
it,
course.
and if we are an accident, then frankly there is no god which is in play over here. So that is
Yeah,
the
I mean,
first argument.
I won't claim with certainty that I know there is no God, but it seems very probable that there is none, because the proposition that God exists has not really met its burden of proof, and I'll show you why. Okay, so the second point theists usually argue is that DNA. Okay, they say that DNA is a sort of language. It's the language of the genes, um, and you cannot have language without intelligence. Okay, like in order for language to exist, an intelligence has to exist. This is basically the argument. But the problem is they're making a false analogy, because the way we understand language is not similar to what the scientists mean when they say that genes are the language of the human, like genes contain information. The way we understand information, which is written down, typed down by us, and which we can decipher and read, the information within the DNA is not similar. Okay. um, DNA does not really prove that there's an intelligent designer. DNA just proves that, the things DNA is made of is present. That's it. DNA just proves that the components DNA is made of, they exist. But you cannot extrapolate DNA and say that therefore a God exists. Okay, this is like, people who do this are committing what we call the God of the gaps fallacy. I don't know how DNA came into existence, therefore there must be a God. Which is basically what this is saying. DNA exists, therefore there's a God.
बट उसी उसी तरह हम यहाँ पे अपोस्टेट ये आर्ग्यू नहीं कर सकते हैं कि डीएनए में भी तो कितने फ्लॉज हैं, डीएनए इज नॉट परफेक्ट। डीएनए इज नॉट अ परफेक्ट डिजाइन, इंटेलिजेंट डिजाइन हो सकता है लेकिन परफेक्शन तो है नहीं। और
No,
गॉड
they're
से
not
वी आर
arguing
एक्सपेक्टिंग,
about an intelligent. I mean, they're not arguing about perfection here. They're just saying
बट
that
देन फिर
DNA
अगर,
proves that
सो
there's an
अगर इन,
intelligence.
एग्जैक्टली, बट इफ आई एड ऑन टू इट, तो मैं ये भी कह सकती हूँ ना कि बिकॉज डीएनए ही परफेक्ट नहीं है, तो क्या गॉड भी परफेक्ट नहीं है? इट डज इट मेक सेंस? सो इफ,
You could say so.
and if there is no perfect god, so
Hmm.
then is there god? Then what is perfection?
What this,
So because
what we
the
can
whole point of
say.
god is
Hmm.
that god is perfect, god is all knowing,
Yes.
matlab jaise at least in Abrahamic faiths mein,
Yes.
जैसे ये बात करते हैं कि भाई गॉड इज परफेक्ट, गॉड इज ऑल
Mm-hmm.
नोइंग, गॉड इज नोज फ्यूचर एंड पास्ट, गॉड कैन चेंज
Right.
एनीथिंग, गॉड कैन अपीयर एनीवेयर.
Yes.
God can, frankly, in
Mm-hmm.
Abrahamic faith, so we even say that God can make a kid out of stone. He can make
Yes.
Adam out of clay. So jo
Yeah.
God can do everything. So God is God perfect? I actually raised this question one time जब मेरे सामने DNA की बात आई
Mm-hmm.
थी. I said,
Yeah.
well, DNA itself proves God is not perfect because we
Yes.
have genetic बीमारीज. कितनी genetic
Yes.
बीमारियां
Yes.
हैं.
Yes. Yes.
इसका मतलब है
But.
ना जीन पूल में पंगा है. And if
Mm-hmm.
we start tracing it back, that means if it started with Adam,
Mm-hmm.
that means Adam also had a, nahi, Adam
Of
had a
course.
imperfect gene. Then only he
Yes.
can have imperfect children. Na? This is how the genetic pool
Yes.
works. So instant oatmeal, according to Abrahamic faiths. I'm not talking about
Mm-hmm.
non-Abrahamic faiths. So
Mm-hmm.
when you're hearing this discussion, you're seeing two Abrahamics talk. So for
Yes.
us, Adam was a perfect man. Period. This is how our stories are told to us. क्योंकि Adam is a perfect man and Eve was a perfect woman, तो बच्चे उनके perfect ही होंगे. That DNA has to be brilliant.
Yes.
लेकिन if we are seeing a genetic pool problem now, that
Mm-hmm.
means their DNA was faulty. So
Yes.
the theory of evolution can be argued with this, but the
Yes.
theory of
Because.
Abrahamic faiths cannot be argued with this. I'm so sorry. Matlab, I'm just explaining you
Yes.
the difference.
Yes, because you see, evolution, the theory of evolution, it explains randomness because it's not a guided process. It's a blind, unguided process with random mutations, basically. So, like in a random process, things will come out randomly, right? So, because things come out randomly, you can expect that there will be these defects. There will be genetic defects. There will be structural defects, but from a perfect creator who can perfectly create everything and who claims to be the most perfect creator, the most perfect being ever, we should not expect any sort of imperfections, right?
Um, Apostle, do you want to take questions as we go, or do you want me to just kind of copy paste them and answer them later on?
I mean, it's up to you. I don't mind.
It's completely up to you. You're the guest today, so you rule the show.
um, I mean, we can just like after I finish this, we can take some
Perfect.
questions.
All good.
Yeah, because
So I'm going to copy
yeah,
paste your questions, everyone, and I'm going to ask it later on. I'll put it across to Apostate. But
right.
like I said, Apostate, we can Abrahamic faiths obviously get challenged with DNA itself.
Hmm.
But non-Abrahamic faiths we can't challenge. I'm so sorry, but theory of evolution actually gets proved by DNA if it's faulty.
Yes,
That is what I can say.
because
Definitely,
because
we can prove that.
like I said, it's a blind, unguided process which has random mutations in it. So from a random process which is blind, which is unguided, you would expect these, you know, imperfections. Any sort of imperfection, you would expect it from something that's random, not from something that's guided, and something that too, something that's guided by a perfect being, who can design everything like with pinpoint precision. To then see that there are these imperfections, like some people, they're born without ears, some people are born without eyes, then all these genetic problems, we really cannot expect this from a perfect being. So,
Exactly. And our God is perfect. I'm so sorry. Your gods are not perfect. Our God is all knowing, all
yes,
present,
supposedly,
omnipresent,
supposedly, supposedly.
supposedly. That's how we are brainwashed. Ki our God
Yes,
is all knowing, omnipresent, everywhere happens. We are the best
yes,
and we are
yes,
the most
yes, yes.
perfect. Just it's all about us. We are like
Yeah,
the
it's all
supreme.
about
We reign.
we. So this basically confirms my notion that it's a sort of coping mechanism, because human beings are looking at these things, looking at existence, and they're thinking about it. They're trying to make sense of somebody, and then some random guy, he thinks at some point, oh, there must be a creator. Okay, like there must be somebody who created us, but that's most likely not the case. We do not have sufficient evidence that there is. So Anyways, moving on to point number three, the human body. Could you scroll up? I want to read the English. Yeah, the human body. The human body, with its amazing functions, could not have been a product of mere coincidence. But it is. You know, the problem with this is that the human body is a product of mere coincidence because it is explained by evolution, which is again random, unguided, and blind. So we have been able to successfully explain life using evolution. So there's no dispute, in my opinion, because evolution is such a well-established fact and well-established theory. Sorry, evolution is such a well-established theory with tons of evidence. Um, it's almost close to a fact, in my opinion. A lot of people may disagree, and I too am not very well versed with evolution, but the amount of evidence we have, it suggests that it was a product of coincidence. Now, the people who deny evolution usually have a problem with a either either a um, look at us. We're so amazing. Everything is so perfect. Everything is so well structured. How could this be random? Randomness cannot create order. And the other contention with evolution is that evolution, it removes the need for a god. So the people who have a problem with evolution, the theory of evolution, either have a problem with a um, randomness cannot create order, or b it removes the need for a creator. But evolution has very successfully explained how the human body came into existence. It branched out over millions of years, starting from a single cell organism. It started branching out, and then as these branches started growing, these species started diversifying. And here we are. So it is a product of randomness. And randomness and coincidence is, I believe, one of the biggest um, biggest ways of explaining diversity, which I will get to in the points that follow. Because only with a random process you can explain diversity. I'll explain how in a bit.
एग्जैक्टली एंड वही बात फिर जो एवोल्यूशन पे अप्लाई कर रही है हमने डीएनए पे, वही हम ह्यूमन बॉडी पर अप्लाई कर सकते हैं कि एक तो इट कैन नॉट बी अ कोइंसिडेंस। एक और चीज जो लोग नहीं जानते हैं वो कि वी एक्चुअली शेयर अ लॉट ऑफ आवर डीएनए विद अदर्स। सो अ लॉट ऑफ आवर डीएनए हम लोग एनिमल्स के साथ भी शेयर करते हैं, हम
Even
प्लांट्स
with
के साथ भी
fruits.
शेयर करते हैं।
Even with fruits.
Even with plants, yeah. So we हमारा जो DNA है, we are sharing our DNA with quite some, almost all living beings. So that
Yes.
actually does indicate very scientifically, or it's almost it's a fact कि we share the DNA. So उसके बाद यही बात होती है कि diversification or branching out very easily we can see. But
Yes.
evolution is not a 20-year process, it's a millions of years process होता है। तो
Exactly.
इसीलिए the most stupid thing which somebody can say is take a monkey and turn it into a human being now, and you look at
No,
that
you
person,
can't
you're
do
saying
that.
like, you're
Because
like,
a
are you
human being is a complete different branch of these apes. It's not the same as a
exactly
monkey. It's a different breed, basically. Like, what we have different breeds of the same plant, right? So for example, we have different breeds of apples. There's red apple, there's green apple, then there's a mixture of red and yellow. All these are different breeds of the same thing. Still apples, right? So just like this, human beings are a branch of these apes. Okay, so we're just a different type of ape. And obviously
exactly
you cannot take a red apple naturally and then turn it into a red and yellow apple unless you do some sort of genetic modification in a lab. But naturally, green apples which are always green, they don't naturally turn red. But
but if you
they're of the same species, apples.
exactly And that's the same thing applies to us also. तो हम लोग भी ये नहीं कह सकते हैं मतलब because that is one of the most stupid questions I find from religious people is that take this monkey, make it into a human. And I'm like, can your god do this? Call your god and turn this monkey into a
Look,
human.
naturally, I don't think it's possible for a monkey to become a human. But and we don't like. But if science modifies, like in the future, which it will, I think we can take monkeys in labs and do some sort of lab stuff and turn them into humans. We can do that, but that wouldn't be a natural process, would it? It would be something that's controlled in a lab, just like we can modify in the future. I'm not saying we are able to do this now. We are not able to, but we may be able to do this someday in the future.
Cool. We'll go on the fourth point now.
Yes. Number four is, I would say, one of my favorites: the existence of the universe. The universe could only have come into existence if there was a cause or a starting point, which could only be triggered by something that's independent. And this again leads us to a necessary existence. Now, there are many problems with this sort of reasoning. So when people, you know, make these sorts of reasoning, they're not really well learned on physics. So in physics, our scientific tools, we have been able to study up to Planck time, which is basically the first point in time, the point where time began to exist in the first place. Okay, we don't have any knowledge of what happened before Planck time or what was there prior to the Planck time, whether there was anything prior to the Planck time at all. So once again, this is committing the God of the gaps fallacy. I don't know, therefore God. That's that's point number one. Point number two is that cosmologists have been able to come up with models that successfully show that the universe can come into existence on its own without the need of any god or any external cause. For example, Alexander Vilenkin has written a paper where he demonstrates that if the universe is a closed system, which needs to be investigated if it is a closed system, the universe can come into existence by itself because there's gravity and because of a probabilistic calculation, which is very high for a closed universe. So in closed universe systems, if the universe is a closed universe, it can very well come into existence by itself, and no cause is required at all. And physicists are coming up with more models. It's a continuous investigation. Just because you don't have knowledge of anything, that doesn't automatically prove that there's a creator.
I think this is one of our biggest problem because we can't explain it. That's why it has to be creator. Because it can't happen, that's why there's a creator. I almost think this is the kind of the only logical answer they have for everything. But then again, is it any different? जो पुराने ज़माने में होता था कि they couldn't explain sun, इसीलिए sun. I mean, making sun god समझ आता है, but saying everything, and that is how science has been constantly debunking. But there are things that exist, but it doesn't mean that everything is god. But tomorrow if we say that there's a planet outside, we start worshipping the planet, will not make the planet god. It just means there is something outside, that's it. But kya, this is a completely different debate, what could that thing be? But that definitely is not what we are reading. At least I can vouch it's not the person from my book for sure. And
Yeah,
that I can
I'm
debunk not just with this but with so many more theologies and what the claims are. But yeah, with this ek cheez to hai ki if there is a starting point which is required to start anything, that means it was not a necessary thing. It was just a starting point. It started, and then again it'll go back to the thing. Even if that is the thing, then again, does that mean that's a creator?
I mean, the singularity existed in a timeless sort of realm before the universe. Before the singularity started expanding, it was in a state of timelessness because The singularity is the point where space-time began to exist, right? So could we not argue that the singularity is uh, we could argue that the singularity is timeless and spaceless because it existed without any space or any time. Because this is what theists usually assert, that since the universe came into existence and its material, and they identify the universe as space and time, therefore the creator of the universe is timeless and spaceless. But the singularity itself existed in a timeless and spaceless state prior to the Big Bang, because no time and space existed prior to the Big Bang. So could we not say that the universe itself was timeless and spaceless at one point? There are many explanations, many ways um, to to answer this question, and I think this should be left to the physicists. We as lay
Exactly.
people should not interfere in the matter of the physicists because they're the ones who study this, not us.
Exactly. So basically, we can actually say that the space existed, the universe existed. We don't have
Yes,
to kind of
in a
go
different
back and
form.
say, we don't have to argue because if we're going to start arguing the whole continuous process, then we will have to argue a starting point, and that exactly becomes the problem. That is the biggest problem for God to prove. इससे better ये होता है कि the universe always existed, period, खत्म हो गई बात. And we just leave science. When science will be at that point, then science will prove it. But that doesn't mean that इससे God की existence prove नहीं हो रही है.
No, we just don't have any knowledge prior to planet time. That's it. It's very hard for a lot of people to grasp it for some reason. They just think that they need to have an answer for everything. But there's a shame in not knowing everything, you know?
I think that is a bigger problem, that because we are people of God, we have to know it. Like we have to be right, we have to know it. That I
Yeah,
think is
yeah,
a
yeah.
bigger ego issue. I think that's an
Yeah,
ego issue rather than a scientific and a logical brain. It is just an ego. That's it. So we'll go on the
yes.
fifth point.
Yeah, the fifth point. Thought process. If we were a product of a mere coincidence, then our thought process would have been the same. But that's certainly not the case. Even in the same age group and same gender, two people would not agree on everything. Now the problem with this is, like, this is so funny because the problem with this is that a random process would do the exact opposite. It would create diversity. Right, because think of a factory where everything is controlled. Think of a smartphone factory, for example. So, if you're looking at a um, Samsung Galaxy A series plant, every single phone is identical, starting from the way it functions, starting from the specifications, the screen, everything within the phones that are produced in this factory are identical because they come out from a controlled process. If it were random, then everything would be different. No two phones would be the same, and this is exactly what we see in nature, in human beings, and in the animal kingdom in general. There is no similarity between two people at all. Like, even if, like, they will have some sort of differences, even if it's just one. But in a control process, there would be almost zero differences. Everything would be the same. So if we were a product of a controlled process, if our thoughts were a product of controlled process, you and I would be thinking the exact same thing. We wouldn't have our different thoughts, our different opinions. No two person is ever the same. And this again shows that everything was a product of a random process, not a controlled one.
But I would take this one step further, apostate, and I would say, if God existed, ठीक है, so which you're right, God would have made perfect things, and you know, and if I take the thing of your Samsung Galaxy फैक्ट्री वाला एग्जाम्पल अगर मैं लूं कि भी एक सैमसंग की फैक्ट्री भी एक परफेक्ट फोन्स ही निकालती रहती है, तो फ्रैंकली अगर गॉड एग्जिस्ट करता है तो वी आर द इम्परफेक्ट फोन्स, द रिजेक्ट्स, इफ गॉड एग्जिस्ट, दैट इज. So we are the rejects. That means if God exists, we are the bloody reject pieces. जिस जो इतना fight कर रहे हैं आपस में for perfection of God, you know? Does it make sense? It's like, I
Yeah.
mean, I'm just taking that example one step further and I'm saying, then what the hell are you arguing about? Because you guys are the rejects then. If God exists and we apply this this concept, तो हम तो सारे rejects हैं. और इसमें
Yeah.
सबसे बड़े बेवकूफ एब्राहमिक फेथ के रिजेक्ट हैं क्योंकि वो सबसे सुप्रीम रिजेक्ट्स हैं. they are they, they are arguing rather they should have been, you know, if God exists they should have been the first ones to go against God ki what the hell have you done, you know.
Yeah. What
Instead
the
they are
hell?
the biggest they're like the biggest fools because they're like we are supreme. No dude, if God exists and we apply this then you are the biggest rejects क्योंकि you're the one claims that we are the special one, the special rejects of God. बाकी कोई
Yeah.
claim नहीं कर रहा है ये.
Right. But this point number five is more about uniformity than perfection. So in a controlled process, we would see everything being uniformed, not in a random process. In random processes, everything is random. So no two things would ever be similar, and we see that in human beings. No two person is ever the similar, is ever similar. If we were a product of a controlled process, we would all be uniform in how we think, in how we speak, in how we eat. You know, everything would be uniform, but there's so much diversity,
Even
and this
twins,
can be, yes,
even twins, you
exactly.
know.
Even between twins, no twins are ever the same. There is always difference even between two identical people. Right. So this proves that we are actually a product of coincidence, and this point number five is not actually a very good representation.
We're at point number 6.
Right. Point number
Purpose of life.
six, purpose of life. The animal's purpose in life is to eat, drink, and reproduce in order to survive. The humans are far more intellectual beings than animals. They cannot have a same purpose of life. Well, of course. I mean, think about it. An animal, a cat, has a different purpose in life than a rat, for example. A rat has a different purpose in life than a virus. How does this prove God? We have different purposes because we're not cats. It's as simple as that. We have different purposes because we're humans. If we were a cat, we would have similar purposes, a purpose that is similar to a cat, wouldn't we? Right. So this is basically taking the different categories of animals and looking at them and saying that, oh, look at this animal. This animal has a different purpose in life, therefore there's a God. This animal has a different purpose in life compared to this animal, or this organism has a different purpose compared to that organism, therefore God. But even if that's true, the one common purpose everything that's living has is to survive. So even though we have different purposes, there's still that one purpose of survival, and flourishing. Like if you take a virus and you try to inject it with antiviruses, it would try to escape, wouldn't it? It would try to fight it. This demonstrates that the virus, like that even a fundamental organism such as a virus, tries to avoid harm and increase well-being, which is demonstrable in every sort of living organism you can ever see. But just because one sort of animal has a different purpose than another species of animals, this does not prove that. This just proves that different animals have different purposes because they're different.
In this, can't we say that the purpose of what is the purpose of all the unpurposeful animals?
I mean, every animal wants to survive, even if they have no other purpose. Their purpose is to survive. It's an inherent thing within every animal. They want to survive. They want to avoid harm. They want to avoid getting killed. They want to flourish.
No, that is how life is. That is how we define nature. We say everything in nature is the survival of the fittest. We are actually proving a scientific theory over here. But if we say why something exists, especially when we come back to Abrahamic faiths, like pigs are not allowed. I mean, are there no more scavengers left? There are so many scavengers in the woods. Why do we only need pigs? If God thought ki pigs were like such a bad animal, why have the pigs? So many species go extinct automatically or through hunting. ह्यूमंस ने कितनी सारी स्पीशीज को एक्सटिंक्ट कर दिया है, हमने फॉरेस्ट काटे, कितने सारे फॉरेस्ट ड्वेलिंग एनिमल्स खत्म हो गए, डोडो खत्म हो गया, साइबेरियन कैट्स खत्म हो गई, इतने सारे एनिमल्स एक्सटिंक्ट हो गए, लेकिन पिग आज भी है, पिग एग्जिस्ट, ओके। जबकि गॉड के हिसाब से पिग इज अ बैड एनिमल, फिर भी पिग एग्जिस्ट।
Yeah,
एंड
I mean, look,
especially according to the
if
Bible, there are like
something
so
is
many
so
hooves and
bad,
non-hooves animals which God considers holy and non-holy. Why do they exist? You know?
exactly, if these animals are so bad, like dogs, for example, dogs are hated in Islam. No idea why. Apparently, they prevent angels from entering homes. Wherever there's a dog, an angel doesn't come. So why the hell would you create these dogs in the first place? You
Yeah.
know?
I, I mean, one thing is like how confused. What kind of a confused God? See, and see, dog and God, they go. Do you know that? If you just place God,
Yeah,
Dog, God and dog are pretty much. That's a big joke between us.
yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
uh, whatever animals God does not want, God doesn't have the capacity of completely making them extinct. Like we as humans can make animals extinct. Matlab, where humans go, half the species of so many animals, they just go like we are almost gods because of our stupidity.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
God himself
exactly.
is not God. Like what the hell is, what the hell is God doing? जो गिनती की जो 6 8 10 स्पीशीज हैं, जो अनहोली हैं, जो गॉड को नहीं चाहिए, जिनको हम छू नहीं सकते, जिनका नाम भी नहीं ले सकते हैं, जिन्हें अपने घर में नहीं घुसा सकते, जिनको आई मीन लाइक we want to be so careful of these species, which all the other animals, all the other non-Abrahamics don't have to be careful about. We हमारे लिए भी like
Yeah,
supreme rejects, for even for the supreme rejects, the supreme God is unable to remove the species. What's happening?
exactly, exactly. Why put these things that you consider harmful to begin with? Why would you create these things? It makes no sense.
Yeah, he's God.
Works in mysterious. Anyways, moving on to point number 7, emotions. Darwinism teaches us how we came to existence after evolving after a period of time, but it does not explain anything about our emotions. Where did our emotions come from? They couldn't come from apes. Once again, I mean, I frankly don't have an answer to this. Where did our emotions come from? Emotions is dependent on brain activity. Okay, so emotions is I look at emotions as a function of the brain that the brain developed over a period of time, so that which helps um, which helps animals and other living beings to be able to um, like it has some sort of functionality. Emotions help us connect with people. Emotions help us connect with our own species, right? Emotions, they 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 play an active part in life, and frankly I don't have a good explanations of how emotions came into existence. I would assume that emotions came into existence gradually as the brain started developing. Right. But once again, how the hell does this prove God? Because I don't have an answer to how emotions came. Does that mean therefore God exists and God put emotions in us? Like, how does that make sense? It doesn't make sense.
And emotions could very well be a survival of fittest response of the nature itself, that because because of our emotions, we do have this instinct of surviving, of evolving. Kyunki the
Oh
best
yes,
thing,
yes.
the species itself needs to have the want to survive, which it does. Reproduction is another want to survive. It's another way of passing the DNA on, because God made us from clay. Okay, don't forget that. You know, we didn't evolve according to God. He just made one fine day. God said, 6 days, let's have creation. So there, according to God, there was no evolution. So the survival of this, on the contrary, emotions are a big player when it comes to surviving of the fittest. Because for emotions, you will discard the unrequired part of your species. So this is seen when a lot of parents give away their disabled children. They don't want them. You see that in the animal kingdom, the first part of the species which dies is the weaker part. So the child which can't run fast, I mean, like, we as humans have kind of countered it, and we want our species, even our disabled species, to live. But in nature itself, before humans did this, a lot of the weakest part of the species actually got cleaned out,
Hmm.
because the emotion connect, and our emotion is more stronger with the stronger being. Even in today's date, हम देखते हैं जो politically strong होते हैं, जो religiously strong होते हैं, people do get attracted to them, so we see our emotions get in play. But this is all a part of survival of the fittest rather than being a part of God. Does it
One
make
other,
sense?
yeah, it does. One other thing about emotions is that this point claims that emotions couldn't have come from apes. But we do see emotions in apes, don't we? We see altruism within apes. We see self-sacrificial behavior. We see attachment, love, affection within apes. So why can't we? Why couldn't our emotions have evolved from apes? Because the apes are displaying the same sorts of emotion as we do.
And we see an emotional part of the animals even with us. I've had dogs my life, and I'm using the word good lord, but frankly, good lord, they are so loyal. They're amazing. I would recommend everybody to have a dog. They are just unconditional love है, बिल्कुल unconditional love है dogs का. They get sad with you. When you're sad, they sense that emotion, and you will always find, if you're crying, a dog will always come and sit next to you. Or unki sixth sense is now being used in detecting cancers, for detecting bombs. The drug squad has it, the rescue squad has it. So how do you expect this from a non-emotional being? And that emotion is not God. That emotion is surviving and companionship. That has nothing to do with God, because God has not created companionship between humans. On the contrary, because of these different religions, हमारी बीच की companionship hinder होती है. हमारी companionship, that's why Muslims are fighting with Christians, Christians are fighting with Jews. नहीं, sorry, Christians are not fighting with Jews anymore, but Muslims are fighting with Jews, because Muslims are told ki kick
Oh
kick
yes, yes.
kick
The
Jews
Jews
and
are,
kick Christians
yeah. Their
wherever you
Muslims
find
are
them.
supposed to be, um,
उनको
they they
गटर में फेंको उनको, नाले में फेंको, मुसलमानों, इन ईसाइयों को और यहूदियों को नाले में फेंको जहां देखो तुम इनको. तो
yeah, yeah,
this
yeah.
is what, this is God. This is God at its emotional best. So emotions of the God are amazing. ये तो मतलब, I'm here, I'm talking about a dog which can be taken anywhere, which is helping every single human being. It's not asking, are you a Muslim? Do I rescue you? Are you a Christian? Do I rescue you? Are you a Jew? Are you a Hindu? No, nothing. It's saying, I'm here, you're in trouble, let me help you. And here is a God which is constantly directing, go and kill this person, जाके बीवी को मारो, बीवी को नीचे रखो, औरत तुमसे ऊपर नहीं आ सकती, औरत को किसी भी
Yes.
सभा में बोलने का परमिशन नहीं है. यू नो एंड देयर इज अनदर गॉड इज सेइंग कि तुम कैप्टिव्स की बीवी को लेकर आ जाओ, उनकी बीवियों तुम्हें पसंद नहीं है, उनकी वर्जिन्स को रख लो. आई मीन, व्हाट काइंड ऑफ बुलशिट इज हैपनिंग? इज दिस गॉड? कैन वी कंसिडर दिस गॉड? or this is seems to be like a jealous pedophile kind of, phonetic psychotic person.
I mean,
What
it's
does it
up to
mean
the
God?
listeners to decide. It's up to the listeners to decide.
It's up
Would
to
you
the listeners.
consider?
We're not suggesting anything.
Yeah. Okay. Um, let's go to the next point. Can you scroll down to number 8? Okay. Morality. What makes right right and what makes wrong wrong? Who decides? It is it. If, for instance, a society decides the morality, then can we blame the Nazis for the Holocaust? Okay. Well, morality is a very large topic. It's a huge topic. It's not black and white as people try to claim it to be. Wait, just give me a second.
Hmm. So morality over here, guys, till the time the apostate comes back. So who decides morality? तो पहली चीज है कि morality is an constantly evolving thing. तो मैं अपने नंबर बढ़ा रही हूँ जब तक apostate is not coming. So you guys, think of me like 1% of a philosopher like him. He's a great philosopher. तो द थिंग इज दैट जो मोरालिटी है उसके स्टैंडर्ड्स इवॉल्व होते रहते हैं. एक टाइम पे ये भी मॉरल था कि आप छोटे छोटे बच्चों की बड़े बड़े आदमियों से शादी करा दो. दिस वाज अ पार्ट ऑफ मोरालिटी. एक टाइम पे ये भी मॉरल था कि आपको आपके अगेंस्ट जो कोई बोले उसे आप मार दो. क्यों कह रहे हैं कि ये मॉरल था? क्योंकि ये हरकतें हुई हैं. दिस हैज हैपेंड इन द वर्ल्ड. ये कभी रुका नहीं है. एक टाइम पे जो ब्लैक्स थे उनको एज सब ह्यूमंस देखा जाता था कि ये इंसान ही नहीं है ये. तो दीज आर द टाइम्स विच हैव हैपेंड. और ये हमारी कोई बहुत पुरानी बातें नहीं है. कि दीज आर द वेरी मच इन टूडेज डेट की बातें.
Oh, I'm
I was
back.
just, yeah,
I'm back.
please.
Sorry, sorry.
Yeah. I was just increasing my numbers in front of the audience.
No, I was listening to you. I was listening to you. I just had to. My mom called. Anyways, so morality. What makes right and what makes wrong wrong? Who decides it? Now the thing is, morality is a product of us. We decide morality because we have the capacity to be moral. Like, we as a species, we did not survive because we were bigger in size, or we were very fast or very strong. What helped our species to survive as a species was our empathy and our ability to feel, you know to want to do something for our neighbors which we want to be done to us. And once again, you can find this sort of behavior in apes. Okay, they have these sorts of moral codes. In fact, many animals display some sort of morality, and this, once again, it depends on the evolutionary trajectory. Okay, so if, for example, we were born as sharks, um, before I say that, good things, morality in itself, I believe, is non-existent. Okay, naturally there is no such thing as a good act or a bad act, but morality comes into existence when we look at these actions and we see their implications. When we see that one action is harming me, one action is harmful for me, we say that this is bad. This is a bad action. When we see that an action is increasing well-being and it's not harming, we say that that action is good. So morality is completely a product of ourselves and what we perceive as harm and what we perceive as good, which helps us flourish. That which helps us flourish is good, that which harms us is bad. But inherently, there is no such thing as a good action or a bad action. So morality is completely dependent on us. We look at actions and we see what's harming us and what's benefiting us. Right. So even if societies in the past, they did some things which were not really good. We are looking at these actions, and we are looking at the implication of these actions, and then we decide this action was good, this action was bad. And the debate on morality is extremely huge. Like, there are so many types of morality. There's subjective morality, there's objective morality, there's absolute morality, there's relativistic morality. Morality has different versions. Okay, but the fundamental thing about morality is that the reason we are moral beings is firstly because morality helps us survive. Secondly, it helps us flourish as a species. Um, yeah, so that's it. I think I was thinking about another point, but I lost my trail of thought.
So would you say like morality is almost like a profit and loss for us if we see as a species कि ये हमें नुकसानदायक है, ये हमारे ये हमें फलदायक है या नुकसानदायक है, इसके ऊपर क्या मोरालिटी हम कह सकते हैं कि प्रॉफिट एंड लॉस की तरह हो गया ये? तो फिर वही सर्वाइवल ऑफ द फिटेस्ट किक इन कर गया यहाँ पे। तो व्हाट डू यू थिंक? तो इसका मतलब
Well,
है ऑब्वियसली सब्जेक्टिव और ऑब्जेक्टिव समय के साथ हम इवॉल्व कर रहे हैं, तो समय के साथ ये भी बढ़ता रहता है, घटता रहता है। कभी फिर इसमें व्हाट डू यू थिंक अबाउट दैट? Is that is how you would give it on a broader perspective, that we're constantly looking out for ourselves, and the definition of ourselves keeps on increasing.
yes.
Like at one time ourselves was pretty much our village, then ourselves became our state, then our country. Then in today's date when women are asking for gender equality, then ourselves now has become the human species on whole. Do you think like that? Is that what you're trying to say on a broader perspective?
Well, morality is dependent on well-being, basically. So anything that harms us is bad. Anything that, like, in a general sense, what harms us is bad. What benefits us is good. And the thing is, because we have empathy, which is an inherent property within us, we are able to feel for the person, next door, and by virtue of that, we are able to feel for our community as a whole. And as we understand human life better, our morals keep on changing. And I would argue that morality is best understood if it's based on data. So if we have data that something demonstrably causes harm, we try to avoid that. If we have data that something demonstrably promotes well-being, not just for us only, but for everybody, we try to promote that. So it's basically like a utilitarian, not utilitarian, it's basically dependent on the harm factor. Morality is dependent on the harm factor, in my opinion.
And it does keep on evolving, so it further proves the point of evolution, that as a species we evolve, our thoughts evolve, our morality evolves. So everything is actually evolving. It further proves evolution rather than proving God. Because if God was there and God was moral, then why did we not see this morality पहले? हमारी आज की morality पहले की morality से better क्यों, कैसे है? जबकि पहले तो prophets थे, बल्कि prophets ही इतने moral थे। मतलब
Exactly, exactly.
you know pick up Moses, immoral. The day somebody, a community went against him, he slaughtered them, rather than thinking कि भाई ये लोग अभी इजिप्ट से निकले हैं, और ये लोग अभी अभी तो मैंने इन्हें गॉड के बारे में ढंग से समझाना भी स्टार्ट नहीं करा है, बस उस खुदा के नाम पे मैंने निकाल के ले आया हूँ। सो व्हेन दे वेंट बैक टू द ओल्ड वेज, व्हिच इज अ वेरी नॉर्मल ह्यूमन साइकोलॉजी, कि भाई अगर आपको नई चीज समझ नहीं आ रही तो आप पुरानी चीज को ट्राई करते हो। नया चश्मे से आपको सर दुखता है तो आप पुराना चश्मा पहन लेते हो। वेरी नॉर्मल थिंग, नया फूड आपको अच्छा नहीं लगता, आप पुराना खाने के पास चले जाते हो। इंस्टेड ऑफ instead of coaxing them and teaching them, he says कत्ल करो इन सबका, खत्म। He slaughtered them. That's what he did. Everybody who went against, he slaughtered them. So this is the kind of morality we have. This is the kind of morality we're dealing with. Like, because I'm from a Christian faith, so I have the same problem with Jesus. Ki slavery was happening in in Jerusalem, in Israel, and Jews were doing it. उसके खुद के लोग कर रहे थे, and he didn't wink a bloody eye on it. He did not once say, the Bible nowhere says stop slavery, for goodness sake, this is bad. Not once. So what kind of morality? I mean, like, today's people have more morality. I mean, you can say whatever about good teachings and preachings, but the morality will come down to actions. So in today's date, people have said abolish slavery, but Jesus couldn't say abolish slavery. And then he
Yes,
claims to be, the prophet. And prophet nahi, he's the, according to Christians,
he's the
he's the
son of
son of
God.
God.
The thing about morality is that if you base it on God, then it becomes very messy because God's morality is fixed. It doesn't change with time, and it depends on what God you know you worship. So each God would have a different type of morality, and that would completely depend on what that God has dictated. For example, um, I have a friend. Uh, I won't name him. I'm sure you know him as well. He said that if God had said rape is fine, he would be okay with rape because God is a morally perfect being. So this goes to show that if you base morality on scriptures and commands of these supposed beings, then morality just depends on what these people are, what these gods are saying. This is moral. This is good. This is bad. But it doesn't work that way. Even if something is harmful for a human being, if that God says you should do it, these people would do it, even if it is harmful. But what do we see? We see a tendency of wanting to avoid harm and wanting to increase our flourishing. And that's what we base our morality on, to be honest. Like when we talk about any moral action, just think about murder. Why do we say that murder is bad? Any thinking person would say that look, it's because you're taking a life away, you're harming their family, you know, you're harming the community. So harm is always the basis. Harm and well-being is always the basis of us labeling something as good and something as bad. Whatever is good, we avoid it. Whatever is bad, whatever is good, we go for it. Whatever is bad, we try to avoid it. Now, that being said, I'm not saying that people in the future, in the past, haven't done things which they might have thought was good, but we need to see what these actions were based on. Many societies in the past used to sacrifice human beings and they thought it was good. But we need to see the action of sacrificing human beings. What did they base it on? Did they base it on verifiable data, which said that um, which said that sacrificing human has benefit? No, it was all based on unfounded claims, which doesn't make sense.
Mm, See, at that time, probably it made sense to them. Because the gods, the concept of gods was a barter system that time. So God, उस समय का जो उस समय के thought process थी was we do things for God, God does things for us. So it's a barter system. So we give God our best things, and then God gives us the best. So we get the rains. If we are in trouble, that goes away. If there's famine, that goes away. So that was the theology that time, because if we even see the trade of that time, it was everything was barter. It was you do for me. It was a tit for tat. And our societies have evolved from tit for tat, and you see that. But saying that you and the same guy you're talking about, who said ki if God said rape was fine, then it would be fine. Well, guess what? I don't know about, like, I'm not going to get into non-Abrahamic faiths, because now you're seeing a total Abrahamic. Although I know that a lot of you are not from the Abrahamic faith, but अब आप Abrahamic faith की conversation देख रहे हो अभी, क्योंकि हमारे gods ने slavery में ये सब चीज जायज कर दी थी. According to Judaism, rape was fine. There is no problem. ठीक है. एंड इवन एंड द सेम थिंग, कंसेंट डज नॉट अप्लाई. ये आप देखते रहते हैं जब when women are not allowed to say anything and they have a moral obligation to submit to their husbands and submission and obedience. So you have already taken away that essence of consent. That you're already talking about rapes, and you're talking already talking about people being forced to do things in the name of God.
Also, what we consider moral and what we consider immoral depends on, it also depends on evolution. Because if we evolved as sharks, for example, we wouldn't consider it immoral to rape females because sharks tend to rape females. Right. So if we like, it depends on how you evolved. So depending on how you evolved, what's harmful and what's beneficial would be different. Absolute, completely different. Um, so morality is once again dependent on how human beings and apes in general evolved.
Yep,
That's what helps us create an
exactly.
idea of what's good and what's bad for us subjectively. Okay, what's good for us as a species may not be good for another species, and that's what you would expect from evolution because there's
And
so much diversity.
apostate, do you see there is rape in apes? The apes themselves, they have a harem culture. The apes, बंदरों में harem culture होता है. बंदर harems बनाते हैं. And so that means this culture, if of making harems and more than one female, it is an animalistic behavior. तो क्या हो गया है, हमारे एब्राहमिक फेथ्स हैव पुट अस बैक इनटू दैट एनिमल ब्रेन. डज इट मेक सेंस? मैं काफी बारी कहती हूँ कि एब्राहमिक फेथ्स बहुत रिग्रेसिव हैं, दे रिग्रेस्ड. सो व्हाट दे हैव डन इज दे हैव गॉन बैक टू दैट स्टेट जहां से हम सिविलाइज होकर आए थे, कि भाई हमें अब इस चीज का कि पॉइंटर्स समझ आने लग गए थे कि भाई यू नो there are certain species which behave in a certain way, but the reason why they behaved like that was because men killed each other and there was only one male left, or the males were so less because they were fighting for females and there were not many males left. So we have come from that culture and we have tried to establish a civilized society based on logic, where we say, we already understand that females and males का जो ratio होता है, it is not a 1:4 ratio. कि ये नहीं कि एक आदमी के लिए 4 बीवियां बनी है, you know. Then that is an argument, do you remember I was having the other day, when he said, well, God has made the perfect system. And I said, if the perfect system says one male should have 4 females, that means हमारी जो ratio होनी चाहिए should be 25% males to 75% women. Guess what? It's not like that in nature. In nature, the percentage is about, I mean, I would say even at the best, agar females are more anywhere in the world, is I think 49.4% or 5% males hai, and females could be probably 50.56%. And on the contrary, I would give it as a nature's way of making sure ki agar if all the females don't want to reproduce, the still the species survives. That is more thing rather than saying one male and 4 females. And something like that अगर हो जाए तो हमारी तो बर्बाद हो जाए पूरी species, क्योंकि there are not enough females. So again, that just proves again that obviously God has no understanding of maths, percentages, you
You know,
know.
I'll tell you something very interesting. You might not have heard this before. So you know, in Islam, there's a ruling for adultery. So when a female or a male does adultery, um, they stone the girl, or whoever has done adultery, they stone those people. This was actually taken from an observation that their companions had, um, about, of some monkeys. So one of the companions, he said that in the time of ignorance, so time of ignorance is any period before Islam. So during the time of ignorance, he once saw that a group of male monkeys were taking stones and stoning a female monkey for adultery. So he said, so I picked up stones and I started stoning it as well. Like, I find this
Really?
so, yeah, yeah. Yeah, this
Wow.
was ridiculous, to be honest. Um, but this goes to show that, even among apes we share, even with apes we have shared characteristics, and this ruling could very well be um, taken from these apes.
Oh, yeah. See, stoning was there in Judaism, so I would say the ape culture came before. Probably, I think that the Jews would have started studying apes. I would say that, not just say the studying of apes has been going for a while. Then I don't know. Do they really want to become civilized? I mean, like, up though I'm questioning the establishment of Abrahamic faiths. Maybe the whole point of this that we could regress back into becoming apes again. I think that's what they're trying to see. What do you reckon? Let's
Maybe,
see. We
maybe,
can
maybe. I mean,
can we go
there's
back
so
to
many.
being apes again?
um, sh- I hope we don't.
Well, we're definitely trying hard, I can tell you. We are at
Yeah,
really trying. Abrahamic faiths are like, there we go, bang on, Like, Jesus tried to say a few things better. He kind of removed the two wife system. He said, no, it's one man for a one woman. God only made one man and one woman, and this is how it should have been. Blah blah blah. But I think the whole experiment was not about God. It was, can we become monkeys again? Which Jesus didn't have an idea about. And then Muhammad said, yes, we're going to make the monkeys again. And here we
yes,
are,
basically.
fighting to be
Basically,
monkeys.
yeah, fighting to be. Yeah, fighting to be one. Oh my god. Okay. Okay. Um, point number 9: consciousness. Generally speaking, when someone does something bad, there's a feeling of guilt. Well, where does this feeling come from? It only supports the fact that God has instilled that feeling in us. I mean, I mean, this this is really this is really ridiculous in my opinion. Um, seriously, dude. I mean, come on. Humans feel bad, therefore God exists. Really, really. I mean, I really don't have anything to say about point number 9. To be honest, like this is just outright stupid in my humble opinion. I'm not trying to disrespect anybody, but this is very stupid. Where does the feeling come from? These feelings come from our conscience, you know, um, our distinction between our ability to distinguish between what's right and what's wrong, and chemical reactions inside the brain.
I,
But
I
the
would
but
say I would say this further does not prove God. क्योंकि अगर guilt होता, तो has anybody even bothered to see the kind of crap God has made us do? You know, um, you know, uh, just if and we can. I mean, God has told us to oppress. हमारे यहाँ पे तो at least laws are very clear. um, so again, this is not meant for matlab, you can take definitely from this, but this is a bigger problem in Abrahamic faiths कि हमारे यहाँ पे our books tell us things like that. Our books tell us that captives को आप rape करें, कैप्टिव्स के साथ आप कुछ भी कर सकते हैं, और ये कोई मोहम्मद ने नहीं करा था, ये मोसेस ने भी करा था. लास्ट टाइम व्हेन आई शोड यू द वर्सेस ऑफ द ओल्ड टेस्टामेंट, क्योंकि मोसेस वाज अ बिग नेम. मोसेस इज अ बिग नेम इन बोथ इन ऑल थ्री फेथ्स, चाहे वो जुडाइज्म हो, चाहे क्रिश्चियनिटी हो, चाहे वो इस्लाम हो. नबी मूसा इज अ बिग नबी. ही इज नॉट अ स्मॉल नबी, ही इज वन ऑफ द द फर्स्ट नबीज. और वो वाला नबी था जिसपे 10 कमांडमेंट्स गॉड ने दिए थे. और जब 10 कमांडमेंट्स में आप आते हैं तो उसके अंदर डू नॉट किल, यू नो, डू नॉट से लाइज, ये सब चीजें हैं. डू नॉट कवेट योर नेबर्स वाइफ. आप अपने पड़ोसी का मतलब नेक्स्ट डोर नेबर नहीं होता है. पड़ोसी मतलब होता है आपका समाज. उसमें आप अपनी उसकी बीवी पर आप नजरें नहीं डाल सकते हो, उसके स्लेव पर नजरें नहीं डाल सकते हो, उसके प्रॉपर्टी पे नजरें नहीं डाल सकते हो. और तो अगर ये गिल्ट की बात आती है, तो इस गॉड में तो कोई गिल्ट ही नहीं है. यू नो, क्योंकि एक सेकंड नहीं सोचा मोसेस ने 3,000 लोगों का मर्डर करने से पहले. एक सेकंड नहीं सोचा, उसने कहा मर्डर खत्म करो इनको, काटो इनको. जब अब बाद में जाके उन लोगों ने जब वहां के बाकी लोगों के साथ, बाकी कबीलों के साथ लड़ाइयाँ करी हैं, और उन लोगों ने जब औरतों को और बच्चों को वहां लेकर आए, तो इसमें आप ध्यान रखिएगा, आदमी को देव ऑलरेडी किल्ड ऑल द मेन आर डेड, हु आर लेफ्ट ओनली विमेन विद यंगर बॉयज एंड यंग गर्ल्स ऑफ दैट ट्राइब। उसमें उसने क्या कहता है, इसके सारे लड़कों को मार दो। तो जितनों के छोटे बच्चे हैं, वो दूध, किसी का बच्चा दूध पी रहा होगा, छोटे छोटे बच्चे होते हैं, वैसे उस समय में छोटी एज में शादी हो जाती होगी, तो वो लड़कियां भी कुछ कुछ 20-25 साल से ज्यादा की नहीं होंगी, उनके 5, 6, 7 साल के लड़के बच्चे होंगे। तो उसने कहा इन सबको मार दो। और जिस जिस लड़की ने एक आदमी के साथ सोना नहीं अभी फील नहीं करा, एक्सपीरियंस नहीं करा है, विच बेसिकली इन सिंपल टर्म्स मीन्स अ वर्जिन, जो उस समय, आप यकीन मानिए, 13-14 साल से नीचे की लड़कियां होंगी, उससे ऊपर की लड़कियां नहीं होंगी। सो मोसेस कमांडेड कि आप जितनी भी मैरिड है, एनीबडी हु इज नोन अ मैन मींस मैरिड, को आप कत्ल कर दो, फिनिश देम ऑफ, उनके छोटे छोटे लड़कों को खत्म कर दो। और सिर्फ वो लड़कियां जिनको हुआ वर्जन्स, जिनकी शादियां नहीं हुई हैं, तो वो 3 साल की, 4 साल की, 6 साल की, 8 साल की लड़कियां होंगी, छोटी छोटी बच्चियां होंगी, उनको रख लो। किस लिए रखना है कि अब इनके साथ अब आप हम बिस्तरी करोगे, दीज आर गोइंग टू बी योर सेक्स स्लेव्स नाउ। दिस इज
Do you know?
मोसेस
Do
फॉर
you
यू।
know? Do you know that the Jewish commentaries on, I think this is in Ezekiel, right? Ezekiel, was this in
दिस इज
Ezekiel?
दिस इज इन नंबर्स।
Oh, Numbers 32. Sorry, yes, Numbers 32. So the Jewish commentators of Numbers 32 have said that these girls, these virgin girls, were as young as 3 years old.
Oh yeah, because the laws of Talmud allows them। तो उनकी प्रॉब्लम ये होती थी जूस की, कि अगर आपकी बुक, जो लॉज की बुक है, अगर वो अलाउ नहीं करती, तो आप एक्चुअली उनके साथ यू कैन नॉट हैव सेक्स विद देम। सो दे, तो दैट इज व्हाई उसमें स्पेसिफिकली 3 years एंड अबव के साथ अलाउड था। सो 3 years इज हाउ यंग इज a 3-year-old child? तो इंस्टेड ऑफ सेइंग a 3-year-old child, द लॉ से 3-year-old women, 3 year
Oh,
old. How do you I mean, how does even God talk about guilt? I mean, if
this
it
is
was
this
about
is this
guilt,
is very similar to Islamic scriptures as well, because in
yeah,
Islamic scripture you can marry off your girl, even
exactly.
if she's a child in the cradle. Like, scholars have actually said this, that you can marry off your female girl even if she's a child in the cradle, and that, um, but they should be sent to their husband's home when they're 9,
No,
basically.
but the laws of Talmud allows intercourse with 3-year-old women. They're
Oh,
not
yes, yes,
girls.
yes.
They're not. They're
They,
not. They're not children. They are 3-year-old women. Can you even just imagine the extent of abuse, the
yes,
extent of child abuse? A
yes,
3-year-old, if I give it to you in a physical way to even imagine, a 3-year-old child will have the complete reproductive organs tattered. She will never be able to have a child. Very, very, it's very less, because obviously she herself is not formed anyway. And there is a very high chance of the anal cavity to also tear,
yes,
you know, if
yes.
and people don't know this, lekin and this was, I don't know if you know about it, there was a documentary which was done about the tribes in which, जहाँ पे girls की जल्दी शादी हो जाती थी। So वहाँ पर ये बोला जाता था कि जब एक छोटे बच्चे की शादी, अबाउट 6 years, उसकी 6 year की मैं बात कर रही हूँ यहाँ पे, क्योंकि 6 year इज अलाउड इन इस्लाम। तो जब 6 साल की बच्ची की शादी किसी भी अडल्ट आदमी के साथ होती थी, तो रात को वो अपने साथ एक चक्कू लेके जाता था, क्योंकि ही कुड नॉट पेनेट्रेट द चाइल्ड। तो
Oh
वो
my god.
चक्कू से पहले नीचे से काटता था, ताकि वो पेनेट्रेशन कर ले। डू यू नो दैट दिस इज प्रॉपर डॉक्यूमेंट्री ऑन
Oh my
दिस?
god.
And the child would die of bleeding, and this I'm talking about a 6-year-old child.
This reminds me.
Because
This reminds me of a quote by Imam Khomeini, who was the former supreme leader of Was he of Iran? Wait, let me check. Um, yes, he was the former supreme leader of Iran, and he wrote a book. In the book, he said that a husband, you can marry your child, you can marry your infant child who's in the cradle to a man, and the man is, he cannot penetrate. But listen to the quote. He cannot penetrate her, but he can enjoy the child in other ways. So, for example, fondling and all the other stuff. But if he does end up penetrating the child, and if he ends up tearing the anal cavity and the vagina to the point that both have become one big hole, all he needs, like this, there's no punishment by law. This will be something between him and God.
And one thing more, I think agar, if the anal cavity tears, then they don't have to do wazoo. I think something like that, because or they do have to do wazoo, something like that. मतलब ऐसा कुछ लिखा हुआ है इस्लाम की किताब में जो वो
No,
आपको पूरी डायरेक्शंस
it's
दे रहे होते हैं.
it says that he, I mean, it says that if you, oh, by the way, having sex with donkeys is allowed. Having sex with animals is allowed in Islam.
What?
So
I thought it
yeah,
was not allowed.
no, it is. There's a ruling which says that if a person has sex with an animal, he does not have to do, ablution. Some narrations say that he has to do it. The-
What?
and then there are other narrations, there are other hadiths which say that there's no sin if a person has sex with an animal. Then there are
So
some
just,
other, yeah, hadiths which say there is sin if you have sex with animals. I mean, it's,
I mean, it's ridiculous. It is
yeah.
ridiculous. So when God like that talks about guilt, you tell this God. I mean, like, because I know that I've had this conversation where I've been told ki agar, if you die, and there is God, then what will you do? I say, well, have you thought, if I die and there is God, what will God do?
Yes.
Don't tell me, what I will do. I said, has the God 1% of idea कि उसने कैसी किताबें लिखवा दी हैं? If this is the God, then this is such a dead God, because I'm already so ticked off. Where will the
Hmm.
God hide? You know,
Exactly.
because he's not getting admission in hell. Hell is not for him. Hell is for people like
Right.
us.
Yes.
But
Yes.
what will God do? Because
I
heaven
think,
will be filled with creeps like this.
I think hell was created because this god was afraid of what its creation might do when they find out his true nature. So he's like, oh, okay, damage control, I need to create a place so that I can put these people there.
No, I created created hell so that all these logical people can go there. The
Oh yeah.
illogical will be with him. All
Yeah.
these pedophiles and everything, they'll be with him over there. बट ये जो लॉजिकल लोग हैं जो सवाल जवाब कर रहे हैं गॉड की एग्जिस्टेंस पर, और ये जो पूरा
Mhm.
दिस बुलशिट ऑफ ओ गॉड इज सो मॉरल, गॉड इज सो ग्रेट, उनका क्या करूंगा मैं? So yeah, God has no entry in hell.
Look,
And one time we'll do a discussion on this apostate, that I think we'll do a discussion on Satan. Let's talk Satan one day. एक दिन devil की
yes,
बात करेंगे.
yes,
It'll
yes,
be a very
definitely.
interesting conversation.
Okay.
That is one
Yeah.
point. So we'll go on the 10th point now. So if anybody wants to
No.
talk about the guilt factor, of God, I think God has no conscience if it is the Abrahamic God, because this God has no guilt. So
No, the
our
thing,
guilt is very much thanks to us. Okay, you
yeah,
cannot thank God for that.
before we go to the next point, I'm just gonna add that in order to feel guilty, you just need to have a good brain. You just need to have good upbringing, and you need to be, you just need to have a functional brain and a basic understanding of what good and bad is, and how important it is to be a good person. Okay, when you have that, guilt will just, it's a process, it's a product of it. You don't need god to be able to know what guilt feels like. It's a natural process of a human's a moral and ethical code. It's a byproduct basically. In order
Yeah,
to have this thing we call guilt, this feeling, which is once again a chemical reaction within our brain, which helps us survive. In order to have that, you just need to have a functional brain, um, and you just need to understand basic human decency.
I agree. And then, frankly, if it was only about guilt and the great God's people, then the guilt is more actually in the non people who don't, because the biggest problems or the biggest genocides are done by the people of God. वो
Yes,
सबसे
exactly.
ज्यादा genocide कर रहे होते हैं,
Like, where's
अभी
the
तक
guilt?
कर रहे हैं.
Where's the guilt there? Like,
Where's the guilt
um,
there?
uh,
On the contrary, they
like,
say, in the name of this, I slaughter you. Like, really?
yes,
You mean,
the
on the
the
contrary,
Muslims, they slaughtered 800. No, not the Muslim. Yes, the Prophet alone, he slaughtered 800 Jews in one day. That too for unjustified reasons. The Banu Qurayza tribe in Medina, he literally slaughtered them in one night. He dug trenches and he just chopped their heads into the trenches. So there was like a sea of blood, and then their women were sold as slaves. Where the hell is the guilt? And we see supporters of him, you know, uh, trying to justify this as if it's something great, you know. But what 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 God and religion does is it really shuts down this basic function of the brain, which is to feel guilt. It shuts it down to the point that you don't feel guilty anymore. Muslims, they openly advocate for the beheading of apostates. There is no guilt involved. They openly talk about sex slavery. Islam allows like sex slavery. Um, you can capture non-believers if you want a war with the non-believers. You can capture their women and use them for sex. They'll become your slaves. There is no guilt involved in these things.
oh yeah, the Judaism exactly same thing. And because Jesus did not speak against it and it was happening, that means even Jesus didn't have any issue with this.
Yeah,
He had issue with the Jews being subjected to this. तो जीसस को इससे इश्यू था कि जूस के साथ कुछ ना हो, लेकिन जीसस ने कभी इस चीज को एड्रेस भी नहीं करा. मतलब
yeah. The same with Muhammad.
ही डिडंट इवन एड्रेस द फैक्ट कि लोगों के घरों में लोग स्लेव्स थे. एंड ही न्यू थे, क्योंकि पैराबल्स में वो बार बार स्लेव्स, बहुत सारे पैराबल्स में स्लेव्स आता है. तो ऐसा नहीं है कि ही डिडंट नो अबाउट दैट प्रॉब्लम. ही न्यू दैट सोसाइटी इज प्लेग्ड विद दैट प्रॉब्लम, क्योंकि उसके ऊपर लॉज हैं बकायदा. But for him, that was fine. If he had an issue with that, he should have said something, and he didn't. That's it. The reality is, ये नहीं है कि he not do this? Did he have? Reality is, he did not say anything, and he
Right.
let it continue. So we can't. And उसके बाद using the same verses of the Bible, what happened? पूरी दुनिया में slavery फैलाई गई. Humans were treated as subhumans because they were not Christians,
I
because they
mean,
did not believe in Jesus,
just
or they were
just
not ready to, they were pagans. They
yeah, just think
justified the slavery.
just think about this. A God
Yeah.
being the most morally perfect, the most everything that's perfect. God Himself did not ever condemn slavery in any way or form. Rather, He he sanctioned it in the Quran. He allowed people to uh, uh, wage wars against non-believers, and if they won, they could take these girls and these women as their sex slaves and bring them home, and then they could later sell them off as merchandise, basically. And there are many rulings on how to deal with slaves. Um, so one of the rulings is that a slave woman cannot have sex with anyone other than her master. So if the slave woman does that, she should be sold off at a very cheap price. So this God actually put price tags on women and other human beings. There is no guilt, like God. What it does is the belief in God. It robs you of that basic function of guilt to the point that you would go and justify anything. Remember, I told you my friend said that if God said that rape was okay, he would say rape is okay, even though it demonstrably harms human beings.
But rape is okay now. When you do sex slavery, rape is okay. What are you? You're
That
not
is rape.
asking for consent. That is rape.
That is
I
rape.
mean, because only just, and frankly, the same way when you're when there's a sort of the triple talaq happening, I had this thing about this argument with this another Muslim guy. He said when जब एक especially एक स्त्री, I'm not going to use the word औरत because औरत means a female's vagina. तो एक स्त्री जब एक and स्त्री means woman and a nari also means woman. So जब एक स्त्री स्पेशली एक इस्लाम जो धर्म को अपनाती है वो और में रहती है, जब वो निकाह के लिए हाँ करती है तो बेसिकली वो कॉन्ट्रैक्ट पे ये लिखा होता है कि उसने जितनी बार एक आदमी उसको बोलेगा वो हाँ करेगी, whether she wants it or not. Do you remember हमारी वो consent के ऊपर
Yes,
बात चल
yes,
रही थी?
yes, yes, yes.
आप do you
Uh,
remember when we were arguing this
yes,
point?
yes, yes.
तो जब
He
consent,
basically said that the woman has given her unconditional
she has
consent the
said
moment she signed the
unconditional
marriage
consent.
paper.
So now there is no rape because she said yes. When जब वो जब उसने शादी करी थी तब उसने यस बोल दिया था और उसने उस समय निकाह के टाइम एक बार नहीं 3 बार यस बोला है। तो उसने तब और किसी चीज के लिए इतना मतलब उसने बेसिकली वन ऑफ द थिंग्स जिसके लिए उसने हाँ बोल दिया है वो है अनकंडीशनल एवरी टाइम वेदर व्हेन द हस्बैंड वांट्स शी हैज टू से यस। वो उसकी खेती है, वो जब चाहे उसे जोत ले, सिंपल। उसने हाँ कर दिया, अब पूरी लाइफ वो मना नहीं कर सकती। दिस इज व्हाट कंसेंट इज। एंड वी वर आर्ग्यूइंग विद दिस गाय, वी लाइक
Yeah.
देयर कुड बी 100 थिंग्स। कहता है
Mhm.
नहीं, कंसेंट तो उसने तभी दे दी जब उसने निकाह कर लिया, अब उसके बाद देयर इज नो क्वेश्चन, देयर इज नो रेप, नाउ देयर इज नो एवर, शी इज कंसेंटेड फॉर लाइफ, खत्म।
And
लौटो।
he also said that he quoted a ruling from Islamic books which said that the husband can enjoy the wife in any circumstance only when it's
Even
harming only when it's harming her religious duties. That's when it's not allowed for him to enjoy her. Apart from that, he can do whatever the fuck
yeah,
he
even if
wants.
she's sitting on the camel, you remember?
Yes, yes, even if she's on the back of a camel.
Simple.
Like,
You're like, what? And we were having a solid argument with him. And this does not apply to kafir women anyway. They have no consent. So
yes.
this one time consent be is a it's a privilege. It's one of those amazing rights which have been given in Islam. That one time we will ask that woman one time in her whole lifetime. But this we will not even ask from kafir women. Okay, kafir women, this one time privilege does not apply to you.
No, of
So
course not. Because the disbelievers are the worst of all living creatures, basically.
yeah, we the kafir women are the bad ones. Okay, so
Yeah.
the great God, which is so just and the all fair and amazing and all knowing God, kafir women, this does not apply to you. And kafir men, you are going to be slaughtered anyway. So this does not, and nothing applies to you. And
Yeah.
God has pearl type men. Well, thank God, at least Christianity didn't have all this bullshit of heaven. Trust me, nahi to no one would ever even look at Christianity. That's something I can definitely tell you. But we go on the 10th one.
Okay. The nature. Okay, the nature. It is in a person's nature to call onto something, especially when she is in trouble. Yusuf Islam once said, "When I was drowning, I said, if there is anyone out there, please help me, and I promise I will look for the truth sincerely." I mean, come on, man. This human beings have a tendency to do a lot of things. Okay, we have a tendency. Some people have a think that they have an imaginary friend, and and they call out. They sometimes talk to these imaginary friends inside their head. If you've seen any cartoons, you'll know that they imagine they have an imaginary friend. Um, but that does not make the imaginary friend true. It's still imaginary. Just because human beings have a tendency to do something, that doesn't prove anything. Human beings have a tendency, when we're kids, we have a tendency to believe that whatever is on television is true, even if it's a cartoon. We have a tendency to think. I had a tendency when I was a kid to think that I was Spider-Man, and I could swing from building to building, but that does not mean I was actually Spider-Man. Right. Um, Human beings have a tendency to believe in ghosts. That doesn't mean ghosts are true. Human beings have a tendency to believe in demons. That doesn't mean demons are true. Human beings have a tendency to believe um, in so many things, but none of these, most of these things aren't true. So what's the point of, saying that human beings have a tendency? So what?
Yeah, like we've got Marvel Universe now, we've got so many things. Human beings are creative, and this creativity is not limited to human beings. Almost all animals are creative. सो नेचर में ये जो क्रिएटिविटी है इसको आप नेचर कह सकते हो द थिंग दैट टू कॉल टू समबडी व्हेन यू आर इन ट्रबल इट इज अ वेरी नेचुरल रिस्पॉन्स ऑफ एवरी स्पीशी इट इज नॉट लिमिटेड टू ह्यूमंस ये तो पहली चीज मानना है so I saw a documentary and I do see quite some documentaries on animal kingdom तो जिसमें एक there was a tigress who was walking with her cub और वो tigress और काफी धूप थी it was very hot and जो tigress थी वो बहुत बुरी तरह थक गई थी but she did not she kind of dragged herself and the cub जो था वो बिल्कुल she couldn't carry the cub anymore तो उसने उसे रास्ते में डाल दिया था an elephant went from there and that elephant picked up the cub and वो जो मदर थी वो पास वाले bushes में थी so the elephant which is a herbivore picks up a carnivore's cub और उसको वो जाके उसने उसकी मदर के पास उसे छोड़ दिया so this is how can this be god this is an animal and apparently we are the most smartest ones पर ये जो animal kingdom में भी constantly help करते रहते हैं we constantly just keep on seeing it ये कोई it's not limited to men or a human species कोई human help नहीं करती है बल्कि डॉग्स कितना हेल्प करते हैं जब आप रेस्क्यू डॉग्स देखते हैं जब आप और जहाँ भी जो भी नेटिव सिविलाइजेशंस है आप वहाँ जहाँ पर जो लोग एनिमल्स के साथ पले बड़े होते हैं वो आपको हर कोई बता देगा कि एनिमल बहुत हेल्पिंग होता है और आप ये जो केसेस हैं जैसे डॉल्फिन्स दे कम टू हेल्प मेनी टाइम्स मेनी सेलर्स विल टेल यू दैट द डॉल्फिन्स केम एंड हेल्प देम ये बहुत लोग बताते हैं तो ये एनिमल स्पीशीज भी हेल्प करती है इट इज जस्ट अ नेचुरल इंस्टिंक्ट that when something and a living being is in trouble and it calls out तो जो दूसरे living being है वो उसको respond करते हैं on the contrary religions जो हैं उन्होंने ये कर दिया है कि उन्होंने हमारी इस नेचुरल इंस्टिंक्ट को जो हमारे हमें नेचर से मिली है कि हम वी आर सोशल एंड वी आर हेल्पिंग उसको करप्ट कर दिया है कि हम लोग हेल्प करने से पहले वी डोंट वांट टू हेल्प पीपल इफ दे आर नॉट ऑफ आवर कम्युनिटी दिस इज वन थिंग व्हिच आई सॉ वेरी सरप्राइजिंग in Christianity in India कि the convent schools give priority to convent kids to Christian kids so they are not willing to help children of the other religions they are more than happy ki, if you are a Christian you'll convert we will take you in we will teach you we'll educate you we'll give you the best education but if you are a poor child of any other religion we don't want to give you we don't want to know you you know then we will take donations from you then you will have to be up so this segregation is seen a lot on the basis of religion and this I see a lot in Abrahamic faiths the same thing about ye dekhen ki when the Muslims I see in India they did not say a word when we had a problem of Kashmiri Pandits in our country
They still
but
don't.
they're and they still don't there is no movement by any of the Muslims saying this happened to an Indian but when Rohingyas came and India said, they are becoming a national security threat, that time we had movements in India. Oh, wow. In Bengal, in
Yeah.
UP, supporting Rohingyas. Jabki our country is telling you, our security services are telling you that, there are a security threat and there'll be a security threat for Bangladesh also, not just India. Still, you know, they want to go ahead and support. Why? So the segregation the on the contrary the religions have made us corrupt our helping nature has been corrupted and we are getting segregated the from this so you want to add something and then I'm going to give the link for people so they can come and join and they'll ask you directly now.
Look, I would suggest that before, you know, instead of asking these imaginary things for help, ask actual people for help. There are good people. out there who will be willing to help you. God will just keep yoing, like he's the big yo brother. He's always yoing. He doesn't do anything. So, well, most probably because he doesn't exist, and it's a coping mechanism for human beings. But just because human beings have a tendency to do something doesn't make those things true. Okay, I would have a tendency of thinking that, um, let me think of a real life example. Right. So when I was a child, I used to read these stories of animals, and I would watch animal documentaries, and I used to have a tendency of thinking that I too could eat raw meat like the lions. And one eat, I did eat raw meat. I put some in my mouth. I gave a bite and I vomited. Okay, because I can't, even though I might have a tendency to think that I can bite into raw meat and eat it like a lion. I was a kid. Even though I had that tendency, it does not mean that I automatically. It does not mean that I can actually eat like a lion, eat raw meat. I will have to cook it, right? So human beings have a tendency to do many things, to believe in many things, to believe in loads of um, fairy tales. That it does not make it true, and it does not. I don't understand how anybody can think that this somehow proves that God exists.
Would you like us to stop this now, the presentation, and we can start taking calls then? Apostle, would you like us to stop? You done?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to remove this, and so we can come on the screen. So we
Oh
got
God, I'm
Durga
very
ji.
nervous.
Hi, Durga.
Hi, hi, hi.
Hello,
Hi,
good
nice to
He's
meet
afternoon.
you.
nervous. He's nervous. Make sure that you make him very well nervous. Okay. I've already told him that we are the devils.
No,
Oh my God, it's
thank you
okay.
for informing and educating us because we have been taught that all the bad things happens only in Hindus. So it's very, very enlightening for us to learn about. And we have so many our own books and that we do not read. So we have no idea what is like, in other books. So thank you for that, both of you.
You're welcome.
Uh, and I just want to add that we were talking about the evolution part. So it is true that the research has been done that the amount of the amount of gray matter decides the empathy section, and it is in children's growth. The empathy is considered one of the milestone for growth of child. As a parent, you kind of you watch certain things and you see that if your child has empathy or not. Like there are few things you watch out for, like for example, like taking care of their toy. That is part of that they start to build some sort of bond and they feel their
Oh yes,
toys
definitely.
feeling cold and all that. And so they have done research on this thing that the people who display non-social behavior or behavior where they hurt animals and other people without any regret, any what we call like guilty conscious and things like that, they don't have that.
Yes,
But it is directly proportionate to the gray matter they have, so it's literally in your brain.
yes.
So
It's
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 literally in your,
inherent.
yeah, it
That's
is
that's
inherent, it
that's
is
what I
literally
said.
in your brain. And then um, uh, I don't know about a lot of other practices, but there are certain breathing practices and then the meditation that does increase the gray matter in you.
Okay.
So that punishment that you hear about, we say that, go and meditate on certain things, we hear in some new places people are trying that. It does have that value that if you meditate it for for certain number of weeks or so, regular practice, not like all day long, it's what 20, 30 minutes a day or something like that. It does have some impact on your gray matter. There has been like physical evidence of that. They do the brain MRI and all that. It's a Harvard link. It's Google search will give you that information.
Okay.
So I just wanted to share that, and thank you
Oh,
both
thank
of
you
you
so
for
much.
doing
I really
great work.
appreciate it. Thank you so much. I'll look into
Yeah,
it.
Yeah, and Durga, meditation is just going to get better and better क्योंकि people have not even started. I think what is happening is क्योंकि generational trauma होती रहती है जहाँ पे आप लोगों को बार-बार कहते रहते हैं कि आप नीचे हैं, आप खराब हैं, आप नीचे हैं, खराब हैं, तो आपकी एक सेकंड नेचर बन जाती है ये सोचने के लिए कि हाँ, क्या वाक़ई शायद हम नीचे और खराब होंगे. The more I am studying ancient religions and the ancient civilizations, I am finding that the practices, if I remove the religion part from it, I find their practices are better. The buildings are more architecturally sound. Their art is better. Their music is better. क्योंकि instruments हमें सब पुराने ज़माने से मिल रहे हैं. कुछ भी हमारे नए वाले instruments बहुत कम हैं. So I find that from a scientific point of view, they were better. तो मुझे
So
नहीं लगता कि कहीं पर भी मैं ये बोलूँ कि मेडिटेशन वुड बी लेस बिकॉज़ इफ दे आर ऑलरेडी वर्किंग क्योंकि हम लोग आज की डेट में हैप्पी हार्मोन्स के लिए वी डोंट हैव एनीथिंग एक्सेप्ट ड्रग्स. लेकिन दे हैड अ नॉन सब्सटेंस थिंग व्हिच कुड इंक्रीज द हैप्पी हार्मोन्स रिलीज व्हिच इज ब्रिलियंट जो हम आज की डेट में फिलहाल अभी मिस आउट कर रहे हैं या जिसको अभी हम नया-नया सीखना शुरू कर रहे हैं. तो I would say कि you know, I'm very proud, I would say, coming from an ancient civilization, I am very proud. People don't want to be proud. It's their problem.
so I just want to add to that, like that is what we have been taught, so we don't pay attention to that. But as I am growing older, I am realizing that not everybody is meant to sit down and close their eyes and do meditation. For a lot of people, that meditation comes in the form of dance. It comes in the form of a role play of a devotee and deity. It comes in so many forms, and who am I to decide? I mean, like, I'm not the knower of everything and be judge of it. I mean, if they are not hurting anybody, they can do whatever they want to do. So I really have no problem with even those practices that people say are not so good, murti puja and all that. Like that is the one of the most thing other than the whole
It
caste and
doesn't
sari
matter.
thing. Yeah,
It doesn't
exactly.
matter. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter. To begin with, we ourselves, from Abrahamic point of view, हमारे जिसमें इतने कीड़े हैं ना, हम दूसरों को ना ही देखें तो अच्छा है. I would tell you that. I'm not talking about we let them do whatever they want to do. I'm saying a different thing. I'm saying because वही होता है ना कि एक हिंदी में मुहावरा है ना कि छन्नी बोले सुई को तेरे पेट में छेद. तो हम it's very sad. I mean, like, because I'm so against Abrahamic faiths now that I've come out of it क्योंकि मुझे एक cult system लगता है ये. तो
It is a cult,
इतनी
yeah.
हम it's a
It is
cult,
a cult. It is a cult.
if anybody says Abrahamics are not cults, they're really lying to themselves and to everybody.
Yeah.
तो जब एक cult system से आप निकल जाते हैं तो अभी आपको फिलहाल जो cult की बुराइयां है ना वो इतनी
Hmm.
ज्यादा होती हैं कि there is no comparison. एंड देन इस चीज से तो तभी मैं ऑन द कॉन्ट्री मैं आप लोग को देखती हूँ आप लोग अपोलोजेटिक्स रहते हो and frankly because I'm out of the cult, I'm very proud of the heritage. I
No,
am a
I
proud apologist. I have no
Yeah,
issues
yeah,
में,
absolutely.
you know
Absolutely. We have a very rich and very diverse
very
heritage.
rich. Oh,
Like
amazing.
like
you know
we have always valued life. We have valued culture. We have valued art. We have valued music. And cults like these, they just put a sort of restriction because it's mono, right? So because it's mono, it wants everything in a monolithic way.
okay, I didn't mute him so that
think he accidentally muted.
okay, apostate your mute so that I
Oh,
think
I'm very sorry, very sorry. So these cults, what I was saying is that these cults, they're mono, right? So any sort of mono cult that comes and tries to um, get rid of these diversities and just impose one specific way, that this is what you need to do, you have to behave in this way, you cannot behave in some any other way. So because these religions are monotheistic, everything they do is in a monotone sort of way, and that's what they try to impose on you.
And that is so against human nature. So
uh,
against human nature, because we are made very differently. We, we are very different at
oh,
some level.
we've evolved very differently, I would say. And at the same time, I call them cannibals, apostate. I don't call them religions and cults. I call them cannibal cults. Because wherever they went, they destroyed people. They did the worst possible human rights abuse,
Yes,
genocide, rape, subhuman behavior,
yes,
forcing themselves, genocide
because
and cannibals. That's why I say they're cannibals.
because they want to force you to behave exactly the way they behave, and the way they behave is the only way to behave. And it's the like anyone who behaves differently is a degenerate, basically, and deserves to be killed.
And two of the things, like, coming from Hindu tradition, one is like the whole vegetarian thing, not like no animal killing at all. There are certain, parts of community that they do engage in those activities, but for many, the whole vegetarian thing and, like, non-violence thing and treating people equally, all those things are such a, like, cool things nowadays. So it's very interesting to see all of that becoming fashion again. So
Culturally, we are much better than these religions and the things they want to impose on us, because we had this sort of unity. You'll notice one thing: polytheistic cultures, they never try to impose their culture on somebody else.
yeah, because
Any non-monotheistic culture,
yeah,
they never do this.
yeah, trust me, it takes really long time for us to understand the other side because we just don't get it. I remember, like, I was given a, Mother Mary's a small statue, and she was sitting with, like, our gods and goddesses for many months, I think. The only thing was that, she was all white and all our gods and goddesses were, like, colorful and decorated well and all that. Somebody gave me and I just put it there and nobody objected to that because it's just our mind doesn't think a lot of times like how other side thinks. So we don't
Yes,
get
but
it.
try doing this with a monotheist.
Oh, I know. I know what that would do. But thank you. That's it. I'll let other guys join in. I'll leave and I'll just listen
Yep.
the
Okay, it
YouTube.
was very nice talking.
But do you see, Durga, everybody is going back to the old, animal therapy. This is then something we're gonna do a stream on this very shortly. That
Yep.
how we are going back to those ways.
Yep.
At one time people were like, "Oh, you guys don't
Yeah. There,
meats and all that stuff," and
yeah.
now the world is going vegan. They're saying,
There
"Oh,
is
veganism is like the new fashion. It's the new
Yeah, there
thing."
is there is something called empirical evidence. For that, you do not need this whole obsession with that prove everything with the science and show me the peer reviewed study. You will not see those things for the empirical proved things and for uh, what's the other word for that? You will
No,
not see those papers. For
anything that is empirically proved.
how will you
There
prove, like, and
there are no. Let me tell you how science works. Okay, so science basically, it is a process where you take hypotheses and you repeatedly test them. And when a hypothesis is established, it's called a theory. And those have a lot of peer reviews behind it. Um, Empirical evidence is part of the process of establishing a hypothesis. So it's inclusive in a big process, basically.
Okay. So,
Hello.
Durga, you done
yeah,
or
yeah, yeah,
then
yes,
all right, all good. Thank you so much. Durga, can you please let yourself out of the studio?
yeah.
We never ask anybody, like, if that's okay with you. Thank you. Okay. So we had um atheist is best, and then Dibyodak. You can ask your question to apostate.
Yeah, namaste everyone. Hello, Dada. কি খবর?
কি অবস্থা? কি
এই
খবর?
তো ভালো ভালো।
ভালো? আচ্ছা,
And how are you?
great. I'm good. How are you?
So I have some basic questions, Dada. So my
Yes.
first question is about Bangladesh. I have heard this from some guys I have followed in Twitter. So they told me that the writings of Hindu Bengali writers in Bangladesh, I mean their writings, their poetry, they are all being eliminated by the from the state curriculum. Is it true? That is my first question.
Well, no, not. I mean, we have Islamist groups in this country who are trying to do this, but these writings এগুলো এত বেশি valued আমাদের দেশে মানুষ এত বেশি এগুলোকে value করে. These are like essential parts
Yeah,
of our literature, right? So
yeah, yeah.
most people are against this, but Islamist group they try to they are trying to get rid of these things. Satyajit Ray and all these people, Rabindranath Tagore, they're trying to get rid of these things. But I don't think they will be able to do this because it's a part of our heritage, basically. There is
Yeah, yeah.
definitely
So
an effort.
my
There's
second question
definitely
is,
an effort
yeah,
that's being put behind it.
yeah. My second question is about there are some Bengali words that are being replaced by some मतलब Urduization. I don't know what is the real word. मतलब उर्दूकरण जो हो रहा है. So my second question will be on that. Like Akash is being translated to Asman, Jol is being translated to Pani, then Dada is translated to Boro Bhai, and Fufa, Fufi, Khala, Apa, and Khira. So
Hmm.
I am not generalizing everyone, but I
Right.
think these are the terms that are being translated into Urdu words. So what are your views on that?
Um. Uh. So it's something that I've been, it's something that's within Bengali language as well. I mean, it's not some new sort of propaganda that's happening. It's always been there. Um, some words. Um, I think all of these are valid. I don't have any problem with this personally. But there are people you know, who try to make this a big deal. For example, when somebody uses an alternate word for water, and they say that, oh, this is we don't say that, this is Hindu language. Basically, there are some people with biases like these, but
Yeah, yeah. I am one of them, so I am not going to argue on that. So it was very nice to meet you. And
you too, you too.
if I get some, if any point comes inside my head, I will come again if CC ma'am allows that.
Oh,
So
yes,
that will
yes,
be
of
my,
course.
yeah, yeah. So thank you so much, CC, and
You're welcome.
thank you, Apostate sir.
You're
Bye.
welcome. Bye, bye.
Thank you. Okay. Uh, Atheist is best, please. Thank you. You can take your turn.
मैम गुड इवनिंग मैम। मैं ये पूछना चाहता हूँ कि जैसे कास्ट सिस्टम है ना हिंदुइज्म में, उसमें जैसे शिकार पहले बहुत बार ब्राह्मण्स भी हुए हैं और ठाकुर्स भी हुए हैं। जैसे जब मुगल्स आते थे तो उन्होंने अपने हिस्ट्री स्क्रिप्चर्स में लिख रखा है कि सबसे ज्यादा वो अटैक करते थे। जैसे औरंगजेब था, उसने कहा था कि मेरे को इतने ब्राह्मणों के कटे हुए सर ला के दो। तो मतलब ऐसा नहीं है कि कास्ट सिस्टम में शिकार सिर्फ दलित या नीचे कास्ट के लोग हुए हैं, अपर कास्ट के लोग भी बहुत सारे शिकार हुए हैं कास्ट सिस्टम में भी, और मतलब ऐसे भी शिकार हुए हैं क्योंकि काफिर होते थे ना उनके लिए तो सब। तो इसलिए ना हम कास्ट सिस्टम को भी हर चीज के लिए ब्लेम करना सही नहीं कि पहले की अ, जैसे बहुत सारे लोग बोलते हैं कि पहले सिर्फ उन पे अत्याचार होते थे, एससी एसटी अपर कास्ट पे नहीं होते थे इतने। ये भी सच नहीं है इतना मेरे हिसाब से।
Um, Cece, could you explain what you
Yes,
said? I couldn't catch it.
he's talking about the caste system and the
Okay.
discrimination. So there's two
Uh-huh.
things. Right now, today we were trying to talk about God, and if you could just keep the topic to that. Caste system करते हैं एक बार हम तो मैं तो पहले हैं तो बहुत see I come from a family जब Christians हैं तो बहुत लोग Christians का ये समझते ही हैं कि you know that we are converted, इसमें कोई दो राय नहीं है। अभी भी कन्वर्जन्स हो रहे हैं, सबसे ज़्यादा रैम्पेंट कन्वर्जन्स एससी एसटी में होते हैं क्योंकि ऑब्वियसली दे आर वन ऑफ द पुअर कैटेगरीज। तो अभी अगर हम लोग, मैं बार-बार एक ही बात कहती हूँ, अगर अगर हम लोगों ने एग्ज़ैक्टली वही करा जिससे हम पहले वो हो अगर अगर ब्राह्मण ने हम पे एक टाइम पे कुछ करा था और अगर हमने पलट के उनके साथ कर दिया तो वी आर नो बेटर देन देम, वी आर एग्ज़ैक्टली देम। बस नाम बदल गया है, वो ब्राह्मणवाद से शूद्रवाद हो गया है, दैट इज़ इट। एंड देन दैट इज़ एज़ स्टूपिड एज़ इट गेट्स। तो वी हैव टू वर्क टुवर्ड्स एन इक्वल कंट्री। दैट मीन्स वी हैव टू गेट आउट ऑफ द स्टूपिड माइंडसेट। इसके बारे में बार मैं काफ़ी बार बात कर चुकी हूँ। बट एनीवे दिस इज़ अ रेड हियरिंग, सो आई एम गोना लीव इट एट दिस। लेट अस वी गोना कम एक कास्ट सिस्टम में फिर कर लेंगे स्ट्रीम। हम तो हमेशा मैं अभी सोच रही हूँ हर 5-6 हफ्ते में एक बार कास्ट सिस्टम पे कर ही लेते हैं। बट वील पोज दिस क्वेश्चन दैट टाइम एंड आई एग्री विद यू कि भाई सबने सफ़र करा है, ऐसी कोई बात नहीं है। ब्राह्मणों ने तब बहुत ज़्यादा सफ़र करा था जब एब्राहमिक फेथ्स यहाँ पर आए थे क्योंकि दे वर टारगेटेड एज़ द पीपल विद नॉलेज, और ये एक एब्राहमिक फेथ्स की बड़ी प्रॉब्लम रही है। सिर्फ इंडिया में नहीं है, इंडिया में हम लोग सिर्फ स्टडी करते हैं इसलिए हमें इंडिया का थोड़ा आइडिया है। बट जब नेटिव्स में गए थे तो उन्होंने एल्डर्स को मार दिया था, तो वहाँ पे एल्डर्स वर जो नॉलेज कैरी करते थे, जो उनके जो बूढ़े लोग होते थे, तो उन्होंने सबसे पहले उन्हीं को खत्म करा था। तो यही एबोरिजिनल्स में भी करा था, एग्जैक्टली सेम चीज उन्होंने अफ्रीका में भी करा था। तो जो भी उनके स्क्राइब्स और प्रीस्ट्स होते थे, उनको सबसे पहले वो खत्म कर देते थे, उन्हीं के सर कटवाते थे। तो ये एक बड़ा नॉर्मल सा आप ये मोडस ऑपरेंडी है एब्राहमिक फेथ्स की, इसीलिए आदमियों को भी कत्ल कर देते हैं वो। ये एंड अपोस्टेट कैन डेफिनेटली अग्री विद दैट कि दे फिनिश द मेन, क्योंकि काफी बार में मेन ही काफी एजुकेटेड होते थे। द फर्स्ट जो घात गिरता था वो आदमियों पे ही गिरता था, और
Yeah.
उसमें भी अगर प्रीस्ट्स एंड स्क्राइब्स वर द फर्स्ट पीपल जिनको निकाला जाता था।
And the reason I believe apostates. There's a ruling in Islam where if somebody leaves Islam, you kill them. The reason is because these people, when they leave, they usually leave with a lot of knowledge on the religion, and they know the intricacies, and they know the lies and deceptions that are being at play. So, because these people realize that once we have apostates who have understood the religion and then left them, they can be a threat for our survival, and they end up going and killing these apostates. And it's an official ruling that if you have left the religion, you are to be killed within 3 days. Some schools of thought, they say that you are to be killed instantly. So I see this as a completely knowledge related things, because these people, they become so people become really enlightened, and they know that this is a lie.
Okay, Rishi, would you like to say something?
आवाज आ रही है ठीक?
मस्त आ रही है, मस्त। Go for it.
सबसे पहले सबको नमस्कार। अपोस्टेजा কেমন আছেন? কি খবর?
ভালো ভালো। I think I know you.
হ্যাঁ, আমি কথা করেছি না আপনার সাথে।
হ্যাঁ,
ठीक ठीक ठीक। तो मेरा क्वेश्चन ये है कि आपको क्या लगता है जब अब्राहमिक रिलीजन्स में ये टर्म यूज की जाती है कि गॉड इज ऑल परफेक्ट, तो what do you mean by that God is all perfect?
well, what people generally mean is that every aspect, every quality that a human being has, that is present in God, but in its most perfected form. So if a human being is good, God is the epitome of that good. There cannot be any greater good than God. If a human being is merciful, that is because there is this absolutely merciful sort of thing. So it's like human beings have projected their own qualities into God, and have constructed this God that is, infinitely whatever human beings are. But then the problem is that should also mean that God is the most evil and the most perfect in evil. But yet we see this figure called Satan, who's evil, and God is not evil, which doesn't make sense. Because if God
क्योंकि
is
मेरे हिसाब से अगर कोई ऐसी एंटिटी है जो ऑल परफेक्ट है, तो उसके अंदर कोई चेंज आना पॉसिबल नहीं है।
no, absolutely not.
Even in the thoughts, if there is any change,
Yes.
that means that thought wasn't perfect before, or
Yes.
it was perfect and it's no more perfect anymore.
Mhm.
तो ये जो वर्ल्ड क्रिएशन है, यूनिवर्स को स्टार्ट करने का जो प्रोसेस ही है, it happened because of some imperfection, and whatever existed before this universe was not perfect. That's
Okay.
why this universe started. तो मुझे ये जो ऑल परफेक्ट का कॉन्सेप्ट है वही समझ नहीं आता है मुझे। मैं कई I've talked to many Muslims,
Yes.
but I haven't get the satisfactory answer to this question, that how can a perfect entity, because a perfect entity would be that won't desire, that won't need, that won't think anything, that would be just in a Zen state.
Yes.
It won't create, it won't start anything, because in order to start anything, there would be a change that would be
Yes.
needed.
Yes.
And that if there is a change, that means the thing wasn't all perfect or is not perfect at this moment now.
Yes, and
So
you see, there's another point. This reminded me of this other point, which is that we have many accounts of certain verses in the Quran being cancelled and being replaced. So that literally means that these verses were revealed. Then this creator, the most perfect, whatever the fuck this is, and this creator, he thinks, okay, no, I need to replace that. It's not good, so he comes up with something better. So that shows that even this most perfect book was a process of imperfect trial and error, basically. That when you project that on this supposed perfect being, it takes away from his perfectness, because a perfect being would not need to abrogate rulings, would not need to cancel verses. He would, whatever he revealed would be absolutely the same from day one. But we see this process of abrogation and new revelation, you know? So
mhm.
so that's a big issue if you want to argue that this God is, you know. But then they'll say, oh no, it was already within his plan to reveal this verse. So why couldn't he just reveal this verse at one go? Why did it have to come after an abrogated verse?
Okay, okay, Sisi, I think that's it for now, and thank you, posted the আপনার সাথে কথা
Yes.
হবে পরে তাহলে okay.
Are you guys showing off your Bengali to us?
And what?
I mean, I remember India mein, the only Bengali things which people know is ek to ami tomake bhalobashi. Amitabh has made that
नहीं
famous.
नहीं मैंने तो सीखी है, मैंने तो बंगाली पढ़नी लिखनी सीखी थी। मैं कोलकाता में था
Oh, wow.
2 साल, तो मैंने पढ़ना लिखना सीख लिया था फिर वहाँ पे बंगाली।
Okay, Rishi, then I'll let you go.
ओके
ठीक है,
ओके, टेक
thank
केयर,
you.
बाय।
आप अपने आप को
Okay,
exit
bye.
कर लेना, Rishi. Thank you. Thanks. Bye. Okay, Sujit ji, please go for it.
हाय सिसी, कैसी है?
Thank you so much. Namaste.
गुड। आपका बहुत अच्छा चल रहा है, और ये हिंदू विचारधारा का भी स्ट्रीम आज बहुत अच्छा गया था। अपोस्टेट दादा कैसे हैं? ভালো আছেন? নমস্কার।
জি ভালো, আপনি ভালো?
হ্যাঁ, আমি খুব ভালো। Apostate da, I have a different question, not relating with God. My
Yes.
question is about Bangladesh. What do you think, being a Bengali and with a good culture, why minorities are not safe in Bangladesh also?
Why minorities are not safe in Bangladesh? Well, there are many factors which are at play. Firstly, is this sense of elitism which is present within us. So, um, uh, could you whoever that is mute yourself? Very sorry. So this notion of being an elite, right? Um,
Wait,
this
wait,
is
wait. Let me
this
check once. This Azad bhai, he lives in some jungle. Okay. He is like to. India में ये it's a long story. हाँ. Yeah, it's 8 o'clock. Yeah, 8 o'clock. I'm sending you the link. Wait a minute.
okay.
कुरान म्यूट कर लो। कुरान म्यूट योरसेल्फ।
भाई मैं तुम्हारे YouTube का लिंक
अरे कुरान भाई, कुरान।
I muted him. It's okay.
Okay, so firstly, minority rights aren't really recognized by the government, which is wrong. I believe that's, I mean, not by the government, sorry, by the people in general, which I believe is extremely wrong, and I think people should talk about it, because minorities, like, I am very ashamed to say, but we have exploited minorities. We have exploited their land for our own tourism spots. We have exploited their culture for our own benefits, and we haven't really given them the recognition that they deserve for everything we took from them, which is not right. But recently, there has been big changes within people, because people are getting more enlightened. They're getting more liberal. So people are leaning towards, they're advocating for minority rights, but it's mainly because of exploitation. The way I see it, that everything was because of exploitation. Um, this is just the ethnic, sorry, the minority groups, like the people who live in the hills and stuff like that. When it comes to religion, we have religious minorities in our country, such as we have um, we have Buddhists, we have people of other faith. Muslims are the majority, and being the majority, most Muslims, the attitude of most Muslims is that anybody who's not a Muslim is filthy. Anybody who's not a Muslim is um, basically, doesn't deserve basic decency, basic rights. So this has a big role to play. The Islamism that's prevalent in this country has a big role to play, and people are trying to fight it.
Okay, Sisi, if you allow me, I
Okay.
have a small question also for apostate.
सुजीत जी, अगर आपका हो गया तो then you can leave, then we'll take somebody
एक
else.
छोटा सा प्रश्न है अपोस्टेट जी से, अगर आप अलाउ करें।
नहीं, बिल्कुल कर लीजिए।
अच्छा अपोस्टेट जी, आपके पास क्या इसका कोई खबर है कि अभी भी वहां कुछ कॉलोनी ऐसी हैं हिंदुओं की और क्रिश्चियंस की जिनको इलेक्ट्रिसिटी का भी बेसिक एक्सेस नहीं है?
No, not that I'm aware of. No.
ओके, ठीक है, आप एक बार गूगल करके चेक करें, बिकॉज आई एम लिविंग इन कलकत्ता एंड पीपल फ्रॉम बांग्लादेश केम हियर, और ये बड़ा कॉमन है यहाँ पर कि लोगों के पास अभी भी इलेक्ट्रिसिटी नहीं है वो कॉलोनी में, और करीब 10,000 से ज्यादा हिंदू वहां रहते हैं एक जगह। प्लीज एक बार उसको चेक करें। थैंक यू।
Okay, I'll look into this, but I can tell you that it's not because of hate. It's probably because of government corruption. It's not because the government is against it. It's basically because of corruption. They tend to consume most of the money.
Okay, so Truth Seeker, you want to ask something from apostate?
Namaste, everyone.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Thank you. Apostate, do you have a YouTube channel?
No, I don't.
Because I resemble your voice with some other actor who is also from Bangladesh. So I'm not going to name it, but I heard like you sounds like. I'm just asking for curiosity.
No, I don't have a YouTube channel, but I was part of a podcast with some friends of mine on their YouTube channel.
Oh,
It's called it's called Skep Talk. If you want to check it out, you can.
Oh, sure, I will. My question is like, we have so many ex-Muslims nowadays on YouTube, and that's really fantastic. But I have one like, I don't know, but they people also hate whoever do not believe in their belief. You know what I'm trying to say? They
Okay.
are hating every people who do not believe their belief. So they are like a kind of Muhammad by themselves, New Age Muhammad. So why is that happening? Why there is kafir phobia still exists in those people, and the Hindu phobia in particular? Because I am Hindu, that's why I'm saying.
Okay, so different people are different. So atheism, basically, it's not a set of ideologies that you need to follow. If you become an atheist, it's just the lack of belief in God, and without the lack of belief in God, different people tend to go in different directions. A lot of ex-Muslims don't have anything against anybody. They just have a problem with the ideology. But then you will find other people who hate the ideology and the people who follow it, and they'll be prejudiced against them. So it actually varies from people to people. Like, it's it's not dependent on any ideology.
So how you reassemble yourself with anywhere nearby Hinduism? Have you encountered anything like that?
No, not really. I don't like. I lack belief in any type of God.
No,
Uh,
it's not a God system actually. Actually, it's not God-centric system. That's the problem with so many ex-Muslim atheists. They do not understand the
mhm,
different belief systems or different perception of the Hinduism.
mhm.
Okay, they believe like we have one God, one Rasul, so everything is like that. Because our cult is committed so many atrocities. That means all others are also committing same kind of atrocities like that.
No,
So
no,
that is
it's not like that.
misconception.
It's not like that. It's not like that.
No,
I
it
just
is not. No,
I just
I'm not
I
telling
just
you.
don't know a lot
There are so
about
many.
Hinduism. I'm not really well versed with it. So
No, no.
I like
I just cleared that there is no God system. It is not God centric system. That why I'm clearing question. It's like nothing. I'm nothing telling you anything else.
Mhm.
That's all. And my question is how Bangladeshi people, because I knew Bangla people is so proud of their own language. How can't don't they read Quran properly and Hadith and everything if it is in Bangla available in Bangla?
It is available in, well, most people they just, a lot of the books are still not available in Bengali. For example, the really important books, like I would say there are books that are more important than the Quran and the Hadith. For example, the commentaries on the Hadith are very important, but most of these are not available in Bangla. Um, and people here, they're more, cultural. They're not, most people are not religious, so they don't really care about what's written. They just, have this identity, and they just grow up with it. But you'll see them doing all the most un-Islamic things uh, ever.
But the thing amazed me because violence took only couple of people or a few bunch of people. Recently, there were so many incidents of burning Hindu homes over in Bangladesh and vandalization of temples and everything. I show on videos, so many videos. They came in groups with small kids, big, and uh, they beat Hindus and burn their houses and everything happening in Bangladesh. So I was so worried about minorities over there.
Yeah, most people, I would argue that most people is against all of this. um, some people, because the thing is this religion is a very long, um, it's a lot of reading to do, a lot of studying to do, and most people don't really have uh, the amount of patience you need to go through these. So most believers, they're ignorant of what their own books say.
Means
Okay, so yeah.
I am agree with the most people comment believe, but the problem with most people they never stood up against those radicals. That is the
Oh
biggest
yeah, that's
problem.
definitely wrong. That's definitely wrong. They're driven by religious bias, because
Yeah,
they're always taught that any polytheist is gross, so they don't really care. And when you are brought up with these thoughts, even though you think what's happening is wrong, your religious bias will come to play, and you'll be like, oh, but they're Hindus. Whatever. But
my
I,
last
I can.
comment is
Mhm.
okay.
Yes.
Continue. Sorry, continue.
No, but I can assure you that times are changing, and a big change
That's
will
big.
come.
That's big. So this is my last comment. I know it took too much to become an ex-Muslim because I am like too close to with so many ex-Muslims, and I heard
Mhm.
so many stories about their go throughout Islam and whatever happening with them right now and previously, like mental stress, then existence stress. Being exist in Muslim society as an ex-Muslim is too hard to do. So
Oh
congratulations
yes.
for that because you've gone throughout that point of time. And
Oh.
as always, she is wonderful and she always has a great stream. And it's really
Oh yeah,
nice
she's
to
amazing.
heard her. Yeah, she is amazing. Okay,
Yes.
bye, Sisi. Thank you. Thanks for time.
Yes. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, Apostle.
Thank you
To
so
see you,
much.
and I want you again and again. Okay.
Yes.
And if
Thank you
you,
so much.
I heard you, you can understand in Hindi, and if you can talk in Hindi also, it will
No,
be, it will be,
I,
it
I
will be
can't
great for
talk
so
in it.
many people like you.
I can't talk, but I can understand it.
Oh, okay, okay, no problem.
Thank you, Truthika.
Anyway,
Yeah.
Can you
bye, bye.
you
Thank
can
you.
take yourself?
Bye.
Yeah, thank you,
Sure, sure.
Truthika. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Hello, Cece.
Koram
How
ji,
are you?
I am so good. How are you, Alpana ji?
I'm
Hello.
fine, thank you. I really like your voice. It's a very beautiful voice you have.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you should be in a radio show or something because you've got such a good voice. It's very soothing and very lovely voice you have.
ओह! आप नहीं, आई थिंक इट्स थैंक यू सो मच। आज आपके पैसे पहुँच जाएँगे घर पे अल्पना जी।
No,
थैंक यू।
no, no. I don't mean that. It's not for the money. I'm just saying you've got a very nice voice. That's what I wanted to say. And I also wanted to say that, like, I think so we should go from the past and go in the present now, because we always go, like, in Quran this happened in past. In Hinduism this Veda said this. I think so we should move towards the future, because change is the only thing which happens in all over the world. So we should move with time. Instead of saying this is written so many thousands years ago, we should start talking about solutions instead of just going on about the past, because that is getting really boring. Like, we are just going on about the past. This happened. Okay, now what's happening in the future? We should move ahead, I think. That's my
Right.
point. Because the
Yeah.
only thing I see in all the streams which I've heard is they're always going about the past. In Christianity, Bible, this is what happened. Oh, come on, move on now. Now the constitution has changed. Like, we are now living in a modern world. Like, in India and in many countries as well, the religion and the constitution or the laws are different, except for Islam. I don't understand why we don't have a uniform civil code in India. That is what I would like to see in India.
यस सो अल्पना जी द रीज़न वी आर डूइंग दीज स्ट्रीम्स एंड तो ऑब्वियसली अगर आपने हमारी और भी स्ट्रीम्स देखी हैं तो हम लोग एक्चुअली सॉल्यूशंस की बात कर रहे होते हैं। तो द रीज़न हम लोग अब ये जो आज हमने ये कॉन्सेप्ट दिया है कि गॉड के बारे में, तो वी आर जस्ट एडिंग वन मोर डायमेंशन टू द प्री एग्जिस्टिंग एथियस्ट्स। तो लोगों के पास एक और थॉट हो पॉन्डर करने के लिए। सो एवरी
Hmm.
टाइम व्हेन वी हम लोग हिस्ट्री की बात कर रहे होते हैं, ये इसलिए होता है ताकि हिस्ट्री इज नॉट सपोज टू बी फॉरगॉटन, हिस्ट्री इज सपोज टू बी रिमेम्बर्ड, और उससे हमें लेसन्स भी लेने होते हैं, सिर्फ याद नहीं रखना होता, लेसन भी लेने होते हैं ताकि वो गलतियां दोबारा रिपीट ना हो जाएं। अब अगर हम आज की डेट में हॉलोकास्ट को भूल जाएं, तो हॉलोकास्ट वी विल नॉट नो कि ये क्या गड़बड़ हुई थी, रिलीजन के नाम पे कैसे काटा गया था लोगों को।
Yeah.
तो इसीलिए हिस्ट्री कांट बी फॉरगॉटन, वी स्टिल
I
हैव टू
know.
कॉन्स्टेंटली रिमाइंड आवरसेल्व्स
I know it
कि
can't be. Bolu.
यू नो
One thing,
एग्जैक्टली।
one thing I would add is that when you look at these dates, they are still relevant today. Whatever happened 14 centuries back is still happening today. And these religions, they force these things to happen on people, even though people want to clearly move away. So it is. So we should talk. We need to bring about. We need to bring up history.
I
We
feel
Uh,
like
need to.
taking,
We need to
I feel
talk.
like just taking a spaceship and moving to another galaxy or
We need
parallel
to talk,
universe.
but I think so.
I am so futurist.
We
I
need
mean,
to change the society as well with
as
our
long
talking.
as these things are there and these things are happening to people, we need to talk about it, right?
I know we
Because
need to talk about it, but we need to find solutions towards
of
it.
course, yes,
Because
yes,
talking doesn't help. I can
definitely.
talk all day, but if I
Hmm.
don't find a solution and implement it, there's nothing's going to happen. You understand what I'm saying? Like,
Yes, of course.
like in India, I think so there should be a UCC, like Universal Civil Code for every religion. Why do
Right.
Muslims practice Sharia law? I find it very offending. If it's a secular country, why are you doing Sharia law for them? Why are they allowed for whites?
Because Islam is a universal supremacist religion. It wants to dominate the world. So if you want to come to a solution, you need to fight this notion of Sharia. And to
Yes.
fight this notion of Sharia, you need to understand how the Sharia works and historically how it was applied. Once you know that, you'll be able to fight it.
I think so. By now, people quite understand about it. It's just
Yes.
why the Muslim women are not fighting against it. Why they say
I have no idea.
it's like they are being oppressed, and there's so many. I know Muslim girls, and they tell me. I said, why do you wear the hijab and all this? And some girls don't really want to wear the hijab. I'll be honest with you. There were some girls who didn't like wearing it, but they said, oh, but our parents force us, it's in our
Yes.
religion. If we
Yes.
don't wear it, then I said, why did it come about, the hijab or the niqab or whatever you wear? They
Yes.
said because we we lure men. If we don't wear hijab, men can get attracted to us, so we have to
Oh
wear it.
yes.
So that's
Yes.
their thing. And I said, you're living in the 21st century, and if you're thinking about this, then it's really stupid, I think. I mean, I feel sorry for these girls and women who
Yeah,
really
but
have
you
to.
have to understand that they cannot necessarily do anything about it. They're just stuck
They are
because
stuck. Yes.
the problem is that if you speak anything about against this ideology, you can be executed, you
Yeah,
can
I
be
know.
ostracized, right? So these things are still there, and as long as these things are there, there will be people who will be stuck in these
Yeah,
things.
I agree. Yeah, because like some women, they say, I had a friend who's a Muslim, and she goes to me, "Do you know, Islam it gives equality women to
No,
women?"
it
And I
doesn't.
said, and then I said, "Why do you wear the hijab? So that we don't lure the men, and also because if we don't wear the hijab, then like we are sinned." We are sinners then. All the women are
There,
sinners who don't wear hijab. I still understand the logic. Like,
I'll
it's
tell you
stupid.
something really interesting. I'll tell you something really interesting. There were two reasons for this ruling. One
Yeah.
was so that men don't get aroused by females, because
Yeah.
this creator assumes that men are like animals. Like
Yeah.
whenever they'll see women, they'll just jump on them. So the first reason was so that men don't get aroused and you know do stuff to women. The second reason was uh, so that free women can be distinguished from slaves,
Yeah.
which is it's and the way you see this is being presented. Oh, it's because our creator told us. It's just a ruling. It's completely your choice. Yeah, no, it's not. and and these are lies. Because this cult is dying. By the day, these people are coming up with new ways to keep this going.
Yeah,
Because
they're just
because
yeah, with
yeah,
new ways to just, because what happens, what I find, like in UK and other Western countries, they have the mosque teach them hatred towards women, towards, sorry, other religions. Like, you should not assimilate with other religion people. You should just stick to your own community and try to convert them. Basically, that's what I
that's what
find.
they want. They want the whole world to be dominated, basically.
Yeah. And this was a problem with even Christian faiths. It's just a matter of time. It was a
Yeah, the
problem with
rapture
Christian
is
faiths as
coming.
well. So, Alpana, your devices are not no more connected, so I can't join you anymore till the time they'll be not connected. Kohramji, do you want to, do you want to talk?
Okay. Before,
Yes, it reminds me
just
of a shair actually. I mean, it is a nice couplet in Urdu. चमन में इख्तिलात रंग व बू से बात बनती है, हम ही हम है तो क्या हम है, तुम ही तुम हो तो क्या तुम हो. I hope I'm not sounding like Javed Akhtar.
okay. No, that was good. That was good. Do you
And
have
that
any
reminds,
questions?
nah, not much, man. Just that ex-Muslim and Bangladesh, 9 bloggers were hacked to death, and it's still
Yes.
fresh.
Yes.
What's Bangladesh now?
Um, it's I would say it's much safer compared to the
Seriously.
past. Yeah, a lot more safer in my opinion compared to the past, because there were more incidents of stuff like this happening in the past. Because uh, people are understanding the problems, and because these things are now more available for people to see, people are actually fighting up against these things. Even like it's still not safe, but it's comparatively safer, which is why I'm able to talk today, because I know there's some sort of safety
Okay, you're in
in the
Bangladesh.
yes.
Okay, good. So you mean to say that India India doesn't need to learn any lessons from Bangladesh, so we have to wait for
No, no, no,
nine
no, of
people hacked
course
to
not,
death.
of course not. That's not what I said. I said that
seriously.
it's that I
No,
said
no,
that
I'm
it's.
talking about India. I'm
Oh,
trying
okay.
to envision the same thing happening in India, where our state will be waiting for 9 ex-Muslim hacked to death, just like Bangladesh, and then suddenly, we realize that okay, this thing happened. Somebody, that person who hacked those 9 bloggers was a huge fan of Zakir Naik.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, Zakir Naik's name is popping up again and again. I think we need to probably start making more, videos and kind of tag him.
I
Like whoever
I
sees
I
Zakir
worked with a
Naik,
student. I worked with a
yeah.
student, so I know a lot about him. So
So we need to probably tag him in everything. So when people search for him, even the ex-Muslims come up and they're like, "Oh my God!" And the heading should be really nice, like the truth of Zakir Naik. We agree with Zakir Naik, and when you open, it's like, "Oh my God, what the hell is happening?" You're debunking him, something like that.
He's a very deceptive guy.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. But Kohramji
anyway,
is amazing. His channel's name is Dystopia to
Okay.
Logic, Dystopia to
no,
something like that,
Dystopia to Reason is my channel,
to Reason.
and yes, the apostate. That's what I should call you. There are a couple of Bangladeshis who are entering my channel, and the way they speak Hindi is, I don't know. I'm not able to understand many of them. So probably if you can just come to my channel once in a while and just translate that. Just speak to them in Bengali.
I can do that. I can do that. Yes.
Just do that. I mean, it would really help because they, pardon me. I mean, the way they speak. I mean, they're like proper moments. Not much different. They're
Yeah,
proper moments.
their
We're just
population is quite big in my country,
yeah,
but that's changing.
absolutely.
The population is going down.
I mean, you are the hope. You are hope for us. So, Bangladesh. I just hope that
Okay.
except Pakistan, the rest
Mhm.
of the subcontinent remains sane because you can't expect any kind of sanity from Pakistan, from
Mhm.
the western side of Pakistan. So at least the East Pakistan remains sane.
Yes, I mean
At least.
we always valued our culture and heritage more than anything else, which is and the language we had, which was a derivative of Sanskrit. So we
Absolutely.
valued these things, and which is why we stood
No,
up
no.
for the.
The shocking factor. I mean, the shocking thing was the 9 bloggers which were hacked to death. I mean, that was really shocking to us. So,
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah,
even we lost hope in Bangladesh. I mean, as an ex-Muslim, and we lost hope with Bangladesh. So I hope that things remain fine. I mean, at least.
hopefully, hopefully.
Anyways, I mean, there's another live with Azad Ji, so I'll be joining there.
Okay,
So if you're interested, I mean, if you're interested, you can join because there are a few Bangladeshis. A lot of Bangladeshis are watching our channel, and it's fun actually.
okay.
Yep,
I won't be
apostate.
able to join today, but
Not
someday in the future.
anytime, any Bengali who can translate there, because any Bengali who can translate that would be great. I mean,
Okay, okay.
So
I'll just move in.
apostate. Yeah, Kohramji. Once the stream is over, if you can please just comment anything on the stream, then apostate. You can click on his name, which is Dystopia
Sure.
to
It's
Reason,
dystopia to
and
reason. I'll do one thing.
Dystopia
I'll just
tourism.
yep, and
as my
just
channel.
click on his name. The channel will open up, and then just subscribe, and then both of you can just connect directly.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay, great.
But you will enjoy his streams. His streams are very informative.
Okay, great.
Hello,
Okay.
Sisi. Yeah, before
I
Koram,
think TJ, Koramji, yeah,
huh,
I think TJ was here first. So if
okay. Now,
TJ Singh
before
can talk
Koram
first,
leaves, I
Yeah,
then
no,
think
you can remove me. You
Sisi
can
एक
remove me.
question.
Just a minute. I just copy paste my link here in private chat, so it's fine. So that's done.
thank you.
So I'm moving on.
Thank you, Koramji. Thank you for joining us.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Koramji. Okay, TJ Singh, you'd like to ask something from the apostate?
Yeah, my question is this: particularly here in America and here in the West, a lot of atheists, if not the majority of them, poll after poll has shown that they lean left of center, whether they be socialist, communist. Our friends, the woke people, who think that men can be women and women can be men, etc. Why do you think that is? Why do most atheists, particularly within the Western world, tend to lean left of center?
I feel like there's a lot of propaganda happening. I can't pinpoint exactly what, but I think there is some sort of internal propaganda that's happening. The left is trying to really push the narrative, some sort of narrative, um, against their throats, which is why they're behaving that way. But once again, I cannot pinpoint.
And also, what explains the, I call it the red-green alliance, between leftists and Islam. I was wondering, like, what do you think is the psychology behind that?
The left,
The red-green alliance, I call it, yes. But,
right,
the
right,
left
right,
is,
right.
yeah.
I feel like they get funded a lot by um this religious cult. I feel like there's a lot of funding going on between them. We're going to fund you, and you're going to push the narrative of Islamophobia, so that you know, we can dominate the world and somehow help you guys somehow. Because this is a tactic they used to do in the past, right? Um, so if you allow us to dominate, we will give you certain rights. We will give you certain benefits over other people. This is the sort of tactic they used to have in the past, and I won't be surprised if they do it right now as well.
It just kind of boggles my mind because,
It's very
they.
I am just as confused as I am. Why would a group consciously, even after knowing how harmful this ideology is, still push a narrative that goes in favor of them? It boggles my mind, honestly.
Yeah, because it happened in Iran, because the Communist Party of Iran supported Khomeini. And then as
Yeah.
soon as Khomeini gets to power, he kills them off or, sends them to, jail. And every time they try it, they're the first ones on the chopping block.
Another thing I would point out is the sort of portrayal of the persecution complex that's within them. So they show that they're being persecuted, and people believe that they want to. Their tactic is that they want to show they're persecuted, then get people to support them. Once they get enough people who support them, then they will start demanding unnecessary rights. And like uh, at the end of the process, gain a majority dominance. They would want more people to convert to them. They would pay people to convert them. Once they're the majority, then once they're the majority in any place, they turn that place into an absolute hellhole. And I don't have to tell you, you can just see wherever this ideology has dominated, wherever they've become the majority, they've just ruined the place. And that's what they do. This is another tactic: persecution complex.
Yeah, I think it goes back to that narrative of oppressor versus oppressed.
Yeah.
That if you're in the majority, then you're the automatic oppressor. So in the Western world, it's that white straight Christian male. He's the oppressor, and everybody else is the oppressed. And in India, it's the quote unquote upper caste Hindus who are basically oppressing everybody else. So it's the same narrative. It's just they're just blaming different people. But I guess that brings me to my last question. You spoke about the population increasing. So around the time of partition, the Muslim population was around 24 to 25%, if I recall my census figures correctly. At the last census in India, the population was, I think, 14.2% or something like that. I think the new census is coming out this year. So as this demographic grows and grows, do you think it could be possible that a second partition of India could be plausible?
Very possible. Yeah.
It just boggles my mind that there was no population exchange done in 1947, and even if it was done in such a bungling way. I don't know why.
I think people did a lot of stupid stuff because they were greedy. Greed ruined a lot of things.
Yeah, teachers saying we're recognizing the problem now. So if we are recognizing the problem now, then we are also, that means we're going to be talking more on the solutions, which I think is a good step. So what you're also finding is a lot of Muslims are leaving faith, so that
Oh, the conversion rate and the growth rate and the apostasy rate is almost equal.
But Sisi, do you think that the government, because Mr. Jinnah said too that he said on the physical division of India, there must be an exchange of population on some level. So do you think that the government of India should try to facilitate that population exchange today?
No, I don't think so anymore, because I find Indian Muslims very different than the Muslims in other countries. I'll tell you that. Very different. You do not find Indian Muslims involved in in many crimes as well. And I mean, that's
Look, the more
the
conservative
Bangladeshi.
you are,
Yeah,
the more violent you are, because
exactly.
it was all about violence. The more progressive you are, the less violent you are, because the approach these people do, these apologists take, is different based on different regions. So if you're in a conservative society, if these people are in a conservative society, they would try to increase the conservatism. If they're in a liberal society, they would try to uh, water down this faith in such a way that it would, you know, be compatible with liberal values. But once they've brought the majority people into this cult, then they will start trying to convert this into a conservative value. That's how they would start dominating. Radicalize them once they are the majority. Radicalize these liberal people, just cut their reasoning, their critical thinking out, make them abandon their values, which they grew up with, and force them to adapt to your values. And
Right,
that's
because
how it goes. It's always been like that.
yeah, and I see that too. Like, within Europe, like, we're seeing some serious demographic changes, and if somebody speaks about that, then they're shouted down as racist, bigoted, whatever.
Yeah.
But if you're a majority in any country and you want to protect that culture, I don't see that as being racist.
No, it's not. It's not.
So I mean, it just and that's why I asked that question to Cece, because if we read our history, it wasn't the Muslims within the majority provinces that were behind the Pakistan movement the most. It was the Hindu majority areas, UP, CP, Bihar, Madras and Bombay. And most of those Muslims that voted for the Muslim League stay behind in India. So you inherited a fifth column at the time of 1947, and
Yeah,
that
but
fifth
then
column has grown.
no, but then I would say that with time, and frankly with internet and with the laws changing, you will find this reducing. As the and that's why now there's been a huge push on the education part, which which I see it as a political movement as well. सो जो पॉलिटिकल मूवमेंट की टीजेजी प्रॉब्लम है ना, वो ये है कि जब सेक्युलर हमारे पास सेक्युलर पार्टीज थी पावर में, उन्होंने एक्चुअली अनसेक्युलर चीज़ें बहुत करी, कम्युनिटी डिवाइड करी है उन्होंने। लेकिन अब क्या हो रहा है कि इन चीज़ों को हम रिकॉग्नाइज़ कर रहे हैं। तो इन चीज़ों को जब हमने रिकॉग्नाइज़ करना स्टार्ट करा है, तो अब हम एजुकेशन रिफॉर्म्स चाह रहे हैं जो आ गए हैं। तो धीरे-धीरे अब हम अपनी काफ़ी चीज़ें ठीक करेंगे। ऑब्वियसली एवरीथिंग रिक्वायर्स अ बिट ऑफ अ चेंज एंड अ पुश। आज हिंदू विचारधारा की उस पर पासमानदा मुस्लिम के एक रिप्रेजेंटेटिव आए थे। हिज आइडियाज आर वर्थ अ लिसन, डेफिनेटली वेरी गुड। So we are trying to look at promoting good ideas, pushing good ideas, and you will find this resonating with the society very very soon. जैसे बैड आइडियाज रेजोनेट करते हैं, गुड आइडियाज भी रेजोनेट करते हैं। थोड़ा ज़्यादा पुश चाहिए होता है, लेकिन एजुकेटेड लोग अगर आज की डेट में भी ये नहीं समझेंगे कि हमें कास्ट सिस्टम, रिलिजन सिस्टम से बाहर निकलना है, या फिर ये सिर्फ हमें डिवाइड करने के लिए है, तो हमारी एजुकेशन का कोई फ़ायदा नहीं है। मुझे लगता है
That's
इससे
true.
अच्छा होता है कि हम अनएजुकेटेड रहते, कम से कम वी हैव समथिंग टू ब्लेम ऑन, हम ये कह सकते हैं कि हम लोग अनपढ़ थे, इसलिए हम ऊँच जात, नीच जात, हिंदू, मुसलमान कर रहे थे। लेकिन अगर हम पढ़ लिख कर भी वही करेंगे, तो फिर वाक़ई अच्छा ही है कि हम अनपढ़ रहते। अगर हम आई बिकॉज़ माय फैमिली कन्वर्टेड, तो इफ फ्रॉम हिंदुइज्म दे कन्वर्टेड टू क्रिश्चियनिटी। अब ये बात और है कि आज की डेट में एससी लोग वांट टू कीप ऑन सेइंग दैट कि हम हिंदूज़ नहीं थे, बट हमारे यहाँ पे भी कुल देवता पूजा पाठ सब होता है, जो मेरे एक्सटेंडेड फैमिली है। तो व्हेन आई गो टू माय लाइक माय दादाज़, जो उनके ब्रदर्स हैं, उनके साइड पे सब हिंदू ही हैं अभी भी। तो व्हेन आई सी ऑल दैट, आई कैन से दैट वी हैड टू लीव आवर रिलीजन ताकि हमें अच्छी एजुकेशन मिले। लेकिन क्या इंडिया में किसी और को रिलीजन छोड़ने की ज़रूरत है, या रिलीजन में आने की ज़रूरत है अच्छी एजुकेशन के लिए? सो द प्रॉब्लम्स आर नॉट एज़ सिंपल, क्योंकि इंडिया इज़ सच अ बिग प्लूरलिस्टिक सोसाइटी। पर जैसे-जैसे अब आज की डेट में मुझे नहीं लगता कि किसी को भी कन्वर्ट करने की ज़रूरत है अगर उन्हें अच्छी एजुकेशन चाहिए। बट एक टाइम पर ऐसा था। तो इस प्रॉब्लम को हम रिकॉग्नाइज़ कर रहे हैं। इस प्रॉब्लम को हम पुश भी कर रहे हैं। लेकिन मुझे अब ये लगता है कि अगर हम एज़ जब व्हेन आई कीप ऑन हियरिंग स्पेशली द एजुकेटेड एससी एसटी स्टिल टॉकिंग अबाउट कि ऐसा होना चाहिए, वैसा होना चाहिए, या हमें हर चीज़ रिज़र्वेशन के बेस में मिलनी चाहिए, तो मुझे लगता है कि एक तरह से आप इसको वैलिडेट कर रहे हो कि हम रिटार्ड्स हैं। हम पढ़ लिख कर भी हमें कोई फ़ायदा नहीं है, हम रिटार्ड्स ही रहेंगे। मुझे जो भी रिज़र्वेशन माँगता है, मुझे लगता है दे आर हेल बेंट इन सेइंग कि दे आर रिटार्ड्स, दे कैन नॉट वर्क ऑन मेरिट। वो लोग नॉर्मल एग्ज़ाम्स पास नहीं कर सकते, उनके बस की नहीं
लेकिन
है।
जब आप उन रिटार्ड्स को लेट करते हैं,
हुँ,
who suffers?
क्या
Your
करते हैं?
society. I said when you elect those same people to, to office and political power, and you elect these type of
एग्ज़ैक्टली,
retards, what do
ये
you think is going
टोटली,
to happen to your society?
टोटली। तभी हम लोग ये बात कर रहे हैं कि वुमेन को अभी देखिए कि वुमेन को 33% रिज़र्वेशन मिलना ही चाहिए। आई थिंक दैट 50% ऑफ द पॉपुलेशन इज़ नॉट इवन गेटिंग अ 30% से। तो इसके लिए पुश होना चाहिए। लाइक इन इन मुस्लिम्स इटसेल्फ अगर आप देखेंगे तो द मोस्ट एन अनएजुकेटेड जो हमारे यहाँ पर दे आर द सेकंड बिगेस्ट माइनॉरिटी, बट दे आर द लीस्ट एजुकेटेड पीपल। तो वो और बल्कि उनकी लड़कियाँ और भी कम एजुकेटेड होती हैं। तो ये कितनी हमारे लिए हैरानी की बात है कि ये सब चीज़ें हो रही हैं और हम इसे रिकॉग्नाइज़ नहीं करते हैं। मुझे सबसे बड़ा अब्यूज़ फ्रैंकली वुमेन अब्यूज़ लगता है। मुझे लगता ही नहीं है कि रिलिजन अब्यूज़ इतना बड़ा है या कास्ट अब्यूज़, क्योंकि ये जो वुमेन अब्यूज़ है वो हर किसी के घर में होता है, चाहे किसी की कोई भी कास्ट हो, कोई भी रिलिजन हो, कोई फ़र्क नहीं पड़ता। वुमेन ऑपरेशन हर जगह चल रही है। हिंदू होगा वो अपनी वुमेन को ऑप्रेस करेगा, मुसलमान है वो अपनी वुमेन को ऑप्रेस करेगा, एससी है वो अपनी वुमेन को ऑप्रेस करेगा, एसटी है वो करेगा। बल्कि ऑन द कॉन्ट्री जितना हम लोग नीचे जाते रहते हैं एंड सो आई हैव नाउ स्टार्टेड अंडरस्टैंडिंग कि ये जो चीज़ें हैं अनएजुकेटेड लोगों में ज़्यादा हैं, गरीब तबके में ज़्यादा हैं, और इससे कोई फ़र्क नहीं पड़ता अगर आपका जैसे-जैसे आप एजुकेट और ऊपर वाले तबके में आते रहते हो दैट एजुकेटेड पीपल, ये प्रॉब्लम्स कम होती रहती हैं।
Like,
सो दे
it's the
वांट
opposite here in the States.
हुँ, हुँ।
Men are
Oh,
more likely to commit
I'm
suicide.
very sorry to cut you off. I'll need to go very soon. In about
Okay,
10
so
minutes.
10 minutes.
Okay.
So, everybody, if you want to quickly ask your questions, because this is the last round we're having. So, एक एक करके XYZ, do you want to ask a question?
Yes, so I wanted to participate
यार
in this.
हेलो, मुझे तो चांद नहीं मिला तो वेट करा था, तो ठीक है, इस बार दे बात करो आप।
हाँ हाँ,
अच्छा,
ठीक है, आप
XYZ
बात कर
बोल
लो,
रहे
आप
फिर
बात कर
अननोन
लो।
आप बोल रहे हैं। आप कर
ओके,
लो अननोन, कोई बात नहीं।
या कोई जल्दी नहीं है। हाँ, तो I had couple of questions. On this population exchange was an interesting discussion. So uh, my question, Apostate, you are our guest here from Bangladesh, and my question is, so how come the population demographic is like decreasing so sharply? I mean, so if you see at the time of independence, it was like, I think it was 35% actually population of Hindus, if I have to say, and now it is dwindling at 8%. And I don't know, there will be a time when Bangladesh will say we never had any Hindu population. I mean, this is
I'll identify.
they never existed in our history or culture.
I'll identify some reasons why this happens. Firstly, because of the huge amount of crossbreeding. I mean, huge amount of breeding that's happening. So one family produces, like, on average. I mean, if you're wait, just give me 1 second. Let me go to my right. So the Muslims, they breed like crazy. Okay. Um, and since this is a Muslim majority population, there's more breeding going on between Muslims than Hindus or Christians, which is why the Muslim population is increasing every year, and this is reducing the Hindu population in contrast because Hindus are not seen to be mass producing babies. Okay, that's point number one. Point number two is that a lot of um, there's a lot of persecution, in my opinion, going on with the Hindu population. Not so much as it was in the past, but it's still going on. So I think a lot of Hindus are leaving Bangladesh. So that is also, and going to India. So that is also affecting the population. but mainly it's the insane amount of breeding that goes on between between in Muslim families, because when the Muslim population starts increasing because of breeding, more children are being produced. They are identifying as Muslim. They're producing even more children. They're identifying as Muslims. So the Muslim population is just increasing like crazy.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. My second question is second question. What is that? So I was saying this. I forgot. I forgot it.
Take your time.
Okay. Okay. What is this name? You can proceed. Let me recollect my question. It just went off my head.
अननोन मैन आप पूछ लो।
यस मैं आपको ते बात करना चाहता हूँ। हेलो सर, हाउ आर यू?
Good, good. How are you?
I asking one question. What is the greater Bangladesh? Do you explain me?
Could you repeat your question, please? I didn't understand.
I say what is the greater Bangladesh?
What?
Greater Bangladesh. He's asking what is Greater Bangladesh.
Bangladesh, Hayat.
I have no idea, honestly.
Okay. I have one more question, Arkin. So, if you leave to Islam, so how to feel right now? If you a difficult time to leave to Islam, so how to feel right now?
How do I feel after I've left? Is that what you're
If you
asking?
left, I agree. If you left to Islam, how to feel right now?
How do I feel right now after leaving?
Yeah. Yes, yes.
Okay, so your question is how I feel after leaving this religion, right?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, I feel normal actually. I feel much better because, um, firstly, I'm able to see things from a very neutral perspective. There's no bias working in the way I'm viewing things and the way I'm looking at people. A lot of my prejudices have gone away. I used to be like a typical Muslim. I myself used to not f- be very comfortable around Hindus as well. But I did have some Hindu friends who I really liked. Um, but my prejudice towards
Do you not feel that if you leave to Islam, do you not feeling depression, anxiety, that type?
not at
Do
all.
you know?
No. Actually, while I was within the faith, I used to be more depressed than I am now. After I left it, I feel more at peace because because a huge load has had been lifted from me.
You know, this is
Yeah.
the second
Hi,
time
then.
I'm hearing today that somebody has felt liberated after leaving Islam and they were depressed while they were in Islam. Second
Yeah.
time I've heard this.
So,
I that
Unknown
asking
man, do you want
question.
to ask anything else, or then we can go
यार
to XYZ
आपसे
man?
पूछने का मैम आपसे पूछने मैम आप नेट टॉपिक के ऊपर ट्रिम करने वाले नहीं दूसरे टॉपिक के ऊपर ट्रिम करने वाले ना वो कब करने वाले?
सर पता है टॉपिक्स इतने ज्यादा हो गए हैं, हर बार हम लोग बात करते हैं तो एक नई समस्या उठकर आ
अच्छा
जाती है।
अच्छा मेरे को
तो
मैं एक टॉपिक देना चाहता हूँ। एक नॉर्थ ईस्ट के साइड के अभी रेसिज्म के बारे में सुना होगा कि एक यूट्यूबर ने एक रेसिज्म कमेंट दिया था अरुणाचल प्रदेश के इधर साइड।
सर आप
हाँ
ऐसा
तो
करें, जो टॉपिक्स है ना आप एक्चुअली टॉपिक बताकर आप हमें ना, दिस इज द रॉन्ग प्लेटफॉर्म फॉर टेलिंग टॉपिक आप ना हमें लिखकर भेज दो।
ओके मैम करेगा।
थैंक यू।
ठीक है
okay.
टेक केयर बाय
ओके
बाय।
Yeah, I
अरे
got.
हेलो मिस्टर ते पुत्र का है तो बहुत सिचुएशन है बांग्लादेश कोविड-19
Bye bye बोल
Sorry.
what the
सिचुएशन ऑफ
situation in
कोविड
Bangladesh COVID-19
COVID-19. What's the situation of COVID-19?
yeah
Uh, it's very weird because people are not really following the regulations, the rules and regulations like they should. But for some reason, people are not getting as sick as we expected them to be. So it's kind of weird. I mean, we have vaccines here, which people are taking. The government is providing vaccines, but most people they're not following the rules and regulations, and I'm kind of scared of what might happen. But compared to the first wave, this wave was much better controlled.
Okay, okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Bye.
Okay.
Thank you,
Thank
So
you.
thank you.
CC,
Bye.
Bye.
Nice talking to you.
CC, can I complete my two other questions?
Yes,
One
sure.
quick technical question for you, since you are an ex-Muslim and learned. So there is a saying, like you say in prayers, right? Muslims say in prayer in their tashahhud that salam alaikum alayhu, salam alaikum e nabihu, rahmatullah barakatuh. So
Yes, yes, yes.
you know this, right? So is it like, are they speaking directly to Prophet here? The
No,
allegation
no, no.
here is they are speaking directly to Prophet and it is shirk. Is this true? Like, what is your
No, this is okay. Um, it is believed that there are two angels with each person. Okay, so one angel records the good deeds, one angel records the bad deeds. So the good deed angel is on the right side.
Angel,
On
yeah,
your
bad
right
angel
shoulder.
है ना?
Wait, hold.
Yeah, bad angel ना?
Huh.
She's actually a demon.
Absolutely. So the
So you
angel
have
that
another
records.
atheist in your house.
No, no, not yet. In the making.
In the making, I can see that.
Right. So the angel that's on the right side, that records the good deeds, and the angels that is on the left side, that records bad deeds. So when you're saying that, you're actually giving salutations to the angels that are present with you.
so I'm sorry, like I could not connect actually between this angel. I knew about this angel thing, but I'm saying like this salam alaikum nabiho rahmatullah barakatuh. This is like
Oh, okay, okay,
prayer,
okay, okay.
right? Part of the prayer. Are
Yes,
they
yes,
talking
yes.
directly to
This
Prophet?
is this is this is giving salutation to him. Um, this was apparently revealed by God Himself, um, to the prophet, so that people could give salutations to him. Could give salutations to him, because it is the duty of every person to give salutations to him, despite him being dead. Because Muslims believe that the prophets are not really dead; they're still alive, but in a spirit form, and they can hear us basically. And whoever gives salutation on the prophet, God gives salutation on them. That's how it's
Okay,
understood.
okay. So you do say like, okay, so see, if you see that they are speak like, it is like a narration, like you're speaking directly to Prophet in the spirit form, right? But you are speaking to the Prophet here.
Yes, yes,
Okay, okay.
yes.
So that's great thing. Yeah, that's great understanding. I came to know. Okay, and the third thing, one general question, like on this atheism. So if you know, like Islam is like 51% political, right? I mean,
I would argue all of it is political.
like all of it is political. But this guy, what is his name? Warner. What is his name? He came on many of our shows.
Bill Warner.
Bill Warner. Yeah, that is his favorite quote. So he had actually literally counted the number of words in Sirat, Hadith, and Quran, and it is 51 as per his count. So I will quote his name and his lines. So having said that, what I'm saying is, and like most of you see, like in Indian context, Muslims, if you see, actually they haven't read all these academics discussion, right? I mean, they
Most
just
haven't.
it is
Majority
just,
haven't.
yeah, it is just hearsay, and this is like angel right
Yes.
here, yeah, and all this thing, right? They are assumptions. Now they, what is happening is, when Islam grows, they change the society, the cultural part of it, the
Yes.
historical part of it. And even if you come out of Islam, actually, if you take become murtad or mulhid, whatever, still that society thinking, that civil society thinking, which we call, right, that's because of the society, that never leaves you actually. Like for example, we have spoken many times, in Pakistan there is an atheist movement, and in India we can clearly see the difference, because Indian society is different, even though both are Muslims. But Indian society, the way these people think, our people think Muslims, the way people in Pakistan think is like diametrically opposite, right? I mean, it is, so society. What I'm saying is, like, how do we come out of this trap? Like, this feedback loop. It becomes like society. Now, once you are entrenched in this society, either you have to become tremendously educated and have a very high
Oh
IQ level
yes.
to come out of it, or you are trapped. I mean, even though you are left Muslim Islam, you are still trapped in that thinking process, which is more important.
Yes. Now the thing is, we need to encourage our children to ask questions from a very young age. What happens with us is that we are discouraged from asking any question that is against the faith. So any question you come up with in your head is considered against your religion, is considered to be thoughts from Satan, and you should avoid any question um, that goes against your faith. We need to teach people to think from a young age and not make them
But
believe like.
apostate, you know that Quran prohibits questioning. Like I think it is
Yes,
Surah
yes,
five, Maida 101. I think I forgot
yes.
actually. It prohibit. And another thing is in India they follow the Hanfi sect, and Hanfi sect and Deobandi they followed this
They are the
Taqlid
most violent of all
no,
the
no.
sects.
This doctrine of Taqlid you must be aware of, where you are not supposed to interpret. They are not the normal Muslims are not supposed to interpret on their own. They follow this doctrine
Yes,
of Taqlid. So that is
yes,
another, compounding this problem. Like I mean, basically you are not fully aware at any point of time. I mean, you're dependent on even on the narrative, and that is why you
yes.
see all this block voting, electoral voting. I mean, we were
Mhm.
talking about 1947. They voted for Muslim League for the two nation theory, right? Even now in any election in India, in free society, we have they vote in block. We are not talking where they are voting, but always you can find that statistics. 90% are voting in block. So basically, they are moving as a herd community. They don't have independent thinking. I mean, so that is another problem.
Hmm. Yeah, that's the problem with this cult. It completely shuts down your thinking ability. Whereas your thinking ability is supposed to be what distinguishes you from an animal, right? But yet this ideology is restricting thinking. So we need to encourage people to think, and we need to first and foremost have dialogues. Secondly, I would suggest that everyone should look into this faith and learn about it, so that you guys can also warn people of all the dangers. Most of the time, these things happen because of the ignorance of the society. But once you have an enlightened society, one that's educated, then you can turn things around. Which is why people like me speak about these things, because
But,
we
but,
want you guys to know.
but I see one good thing. One last comment before I sign out.
Yes.
I know CC is waiting when I will finish. So
Yeah.
one last thing that despite all this, Bangladesh is still way better than Pakistan. The state of mind of
Oh
Bangladesh,
yes,
they are
Oh yeah,
far.
absolutely.
I see
no
like they're
comparison.
developing. Yeah, yeah, no comparison. But so don't take the criticisms. But on and even their GDP is growing more than India. I'm happy for them.
Yes.
Okay,
and
okay,
and and
yeah.
not just that, what happened is during partition they just Pakistan, first thing to begin with, they discriminated them on the basis of color, which is ridiculous because this was the most educated segment of the country. And if they look at the economic part, then Bangladesh से जितना उनको टैक्स मिल रहा था, उनको एक्चुअली उस साइड से नहीं मिल रहा था, लेकिन वो चाहते ही नहीं थे कि बांग्लादेश से जो पैसे आ रहे हैं वो
नहीं,
बांग्लादेश में स्पेंड हो। ये काफी बड़ी प्रॉब्लम थी उस समय।
सीसी
अम,
मैडम, ये पूरी जो सिटी ऑफ इस्लामाबाद है ना, दैट वाज बिल्ट ऑन द टैक्स पेड मनी ऑफ बांग्लादेश.
जी
और जब
बिल्कुल पता है मुझे।
मुजीबर रहमान जब जीत गया उनकी पार्टी, याहिया खान, आई थिंक भुट्टो एंड याहिया खान, their government rejected their, क्योंकि he was
आई नो,
supposed to become the prime minister.
बट
They rejected it on
एग्जैक्टली।
racist ground.
एंड
On racist ground. How come a
हाँ,
Bengali can rule a united Pakistan? Bengali,
नो नो,
filthy Bengali can rule Pakistan. They
नहीं ये तो
rejected the
पता
guy.
ही है। एग्जैक्टली, एंड दैट्स व्हाई उनका जो मोस्ट एजुकेटेड सेगमेंट था, क्योंकि हमारे यहाँ भी इफ यू लुक एट इंडियाज हिस्ट्री आल्सो, तो हमारे यहाँ जो सबसे बड़े राष्ट्रवादी लोग, सबसे बड़े पोएट्स, सबसे बड़े लेक्चरर्स, द टीचर्स, आई मीन जस्ट नेम दीज अमेजिंग वुमेन, जब हम बात करते हैं ना, फर्स्ट वुमेन हु डिड दिस, फर्स्ट वुमेन हु डिड दैट, सो मेनी नेम पॉप आउट फ्रॉम बंगाल, फ्रॉम दैट बांग्लादेशी कम्युनिटी। तो हमारे यहाँ पे तो बांग्लादेशी बंगालीज आर लाइक अ प्राइज्ड पीपल। or for them to take that amazingly prized people and then to completely put them down, that was so crazy.
Also,
तो इससे
also,
बड़ा बेवकूफी कुछ, इससे बड़ी बेवकूफी कुछ वो नहीं कर सकते थे
you know,
obviously.
another thing the Pakistani government did was they gave fatwas saying that Bengali Muslims are not true Muslims and they're Hindus, which is why it was okay for the Pakistani soldiers to rape them, basically.
Well,
No, I agree.
one more
So
thing. One more thing, Apostate. So, how do you like the normal Muslims in Bangladesh between Iqbal and Tagore? I know Tagore needs no introduction. Rabindranath Tagore, whom they accept more, whom they are closer more. Iqbal versus Tagore.
Who's Iqbal?
What's that?
Who's Iqbal?
Iqbal bhi Iqbal. See,
Iqbal,
XYZ,
Iqbal.
yeah,
वहाँ पे
XYZ, please
वहाँ पे
don't, हाँ, आप ये छोड़ दीजिए इस बात
No,
को,
no,
you
no.
know,
Because
कि
he's honest.
religion
Actually,
plays a play.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, religion plays a
अरे
part. There's no
XYZ जी
देखो
वहाँ पे
बात की तरफ है.
नजरुल इस्लाम चलता है, काजी नजरुल इस्लाम चलता है,
तो
इकबाल वहाँ पे कोई
that's
पहचानता
that,
नहीं है।
हाँ, साइलेंट बॉन्ग देना आप बोल लो, उसके बाद फिर
ठीक है,
then we
ठीक है,
just have
ठीक है.
Bugsy, क्योंकि Bugsy was let down, और उसके बाद then we're going to finish the stream. So silent bong, go for it.
Okay.
ठीक है,
ओके,
ठीक है. I will sign
थैंक
out.
यू।
Thank you. Thank
All
you.
good.
Thank you so
Then you can
much.
exit yourself, XYZ. Thank you.
Thank,
Thank you for coming.
thank you so much. Guys, before you start, please, could you please make this quick? I need to
जल्दी
leave
कर लेते हैं,
in
हाँ,
about
he
a
has to
minute.
leave now. Silent bong quickly, please.
या
So
या
we'll
I'll
take
go
both the
fast।
questions right now, and then you can answer both of them. So Baxi can also give his question, Bong can also give his question.
Yeah, okay. First of all, good evening, and I just wanted to ask, like, first of all, I'm not really a believer of this thing that Bangladesh is any different from Pakistan. I mean, people who live in Punjab or the western border, they might have a different perception, but we who live in Bengal, Assam, we have a different thinking. So, leaving that aside, I just wanted to ask, like, what is the situation with this Sheikh Hasina government right now? Because we all know about the for the last 10 years how many atheists have been killed, bloggers, whole issue. So what's the, because there is a deep state. Let's be honest. The Bangladesh army and the Jamaat people, they are
Yes.
controlling, pulling the strings, and Sheikh Hasina might not be able to resist them for too long. So what's the deal with the Awami League? That's my first question. And the second question is, like, recently in the West Bengal elections, we saw that after Mamta won, there was a huge outpour of support in Bangladesh. They were saying that. I mean, which is pretty ridiculous that they're saying that West Bengal should have a secular government, although they want an Islamist government in Bangladesh, but they want a secular government in West Bengal. So, what is this? I don't get it. What is this?
Okay.
This affinity with the Mamta Banerjee and TMC? That's what I wanted to know. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. So, firstly, the government, Sheikh Hasina is doing some sort of play here. At one time, she's appeasing the Islamists. At another point, when the Islamists are getting out of hand, she's attacking them, and I have no idea why she's doing that. I don't think she should appease Islamists at all, but she's doing it. She has done it in the past, and it hasn't really. It has, it's had its uh, repercussions. Right, there was a sort of bomb attack on her, um, and it's weird. I really don't understand why she's doing that, but Sheikh Hasina is behind this, honestly. Um, uh, so yeah, I'm very confused as to why she does it. Like, we don't. I myself couldn't identify any clear motive. Firstly, secondly, majority of the people who are non-Islamists, Islamists are a big group, no doubt, but most of the people living in the city are secular. Most of the people, I would say most. The Islamists are a big group, but they're not as big as the secular government and people, secular side, and people are valuing secular ideas and secular laws more than the Islamist one, which is they're now increasing their support for secularism. Bangladesh was more or less secular, but the government, for some reason, kept pulling the strings with the Islamists. Sheikh Mujib did that with Yasser Arafat in 1974, and his daughter has been doing that as well. But yeah. Oh, guys, I am running out of charge. I
Okay.
really need to go. I'm very
Bakshi, do you
sorry.
have any small question? And then we're gonna close.
And there is no such thing. There is no such thing as small
I'm
question.
at 7%. I'm very sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. We can catch up sometime later. I mean later on.
All right.
But
Thank you so
thank
much.
you so much for coming today. It was a pleasure. It was such a great presentation. I think hopefully people can get some ideas. But
Yes.
I think everybody connects with you. Everybody
Okay, तो आ
appreciates
गए थे.
you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you बोल रहे हैं.
I appreciate everybody as well.
Ami, thank you बोल चाहिए.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I appreciate everybody.
But thank you everybody for
it was
joining.
great.
And the
It was
last
great
words from
talking to you.
Apostate, and then we'll close the stream.
All right. It was great talking to everybody. I really enjoyed, and yeah, like stay safe. That's all I have to say.
But please connect with the community over here. Everybody is going to be very happy. And now that's the part where we eat you up, like I told you. Once the stream is finished, we're going to eat you up. So everybody, we can attack Apostate now. But jokes apart, it was a brilliant stream. Thank you so much for joining us. Or we'll do another stream sometime soon. But thank you so much, and keep the questions coming. Awareness is the key. Connections, awareness, getting together, good ideas, promotion, and equality in the human community. We need to get out of the religion and the caste and everything, and we need to come together as humans, and work as Indians for our country, and as human for the entire human society. I think that's what it is. Everybody, if you want to say any last words, TJ, we'll start with you. We'll go one by one, and then we'll say good night. Then, TJ, do you want to say something?
I mean, honestly, I think that people should just keep asking questions, and just go where the evidence leads you, and no matter how much the answer you don't like, just keep going and keep investigating. I mean, that's the only thing I can say.
Thank you so much, DJ. Silent Bong, do you want to say some last words?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that it was nice listening to this man. I mean, I really liked his presentation, so I enjoyed it very much. So I would like you to have him again. So keep up the good work. That's it.
Good stuff. Keep going.
Okay. Thank you so much. That's it, Bakshi.
अभी क्या बोलेंगे आपने पहले बोल दिया छोटा सा क्वेश्चन पूछ लो जाने दो I'm good.
नहीं, 7% चार्ज रह गया था, पर वो he'll come back, he'll join us again. मैंने उन्हें पहले बता दिया था कि
I'm just kidding. I didn't have any serious question. I mean, something very generic. We can do it anytime. I mean, that's okay.
Sure, but thank you so much. Thank you everybody for joining. And a stronger community is always an undivided community. तो जितना हम लोग अपने divisions को कम करें और religion divisions और caste divisions, we are trying to spread awareness and solutions. तभी आज की जो stream थी वो भी इसी पर थी कि अगर आपके सामने कभी कोई God वाले atheist questions आए तो आप उन्हें कैसे counter करें. ये 10 मेन क्वेश्चंस हैं जो पूछे जाते हैं जो लोग रिलीजन के अगेंस्ट बोलते हैं, किसी भी रिलीजन के अगेंस्ट, तो उनके काउंटर्स के लिए दिस वाज अ ब्रिलियंट प्रेजेंटेशन. And then again, thank you so much. Good night everyone. We're going to close the stream now. Thank you.
Bye.